Good stuff. So tonight our topic, I'd like to start off with Happy, I don't know, talking a little bit about Danielle Smith. What do you think?
Danny. What's there to say about Danny that hasn't been said before? Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know if it's looking good for her. She's got 50,000 people backing her, though, I heard. 50,000.
Really? That's
Mm-hmm.
that's almost unbelievable that that many people would be behind her.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I'm moving this back. I hope it doesn't
It's
echo.
hard to believe. Marlena, yeah. So we could talk about Marlena, or we could talk about the Trump chat.
The tariffs are affecting my business. I don't know, like if the government. I think I heard Mark Carney is rolling out a $2 billion aid package for people affected by um,
Fantastic.
the tariffs. But I think a lot of that is going to the agriculture sector. And then like, who's the other one? Oh, yeah. People whose prices are set to increase due to exportation. So, like, if you're exporting to the United States and your customer is purchasing, to encourage that from raising the prices or being impacted, the government has a subsidy, if I'm not mistaken, that you can apply for already. So if you have a small business and you do business in the United States, you should go
Mhm.
to the canada.gc.ca website and check it out because the money's already allocated.
Do you mind me asking what business you're in?
I'm in sales, car sales right now.
Okay, yeah, that would
Yeah,
affect you, wouldn't it?
I got in a car accident Christmas
Oh,
Eve. Yeah, I was rear-ended by some guy and he blew out my back. Um, and then ever since, I'm because I like gardening, and then in the winter I like bartending or managing bars, but like the kegs and moving the bottles is all side to side and my back is still messed up and I can't do it, so I had to find something else. And
right.
I got into car sales, and my buddy's like, a lot of waiters come over here, so I was like, okay, dig it, let's go. It's a crazy licensing process in Ontario.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
you have to get like background checks and stuff like that. Like they have a special one. It's jurisdictional matters and stuff like criminal background check and jurisdictional matters check. Yeah, something like that. I could,
So what do you think we should discuss? Do you think it would be better to discuss tariffs tonight? Are you in the mood for tariffs?
we could talk about anything. To be fair, we
Hey,
could talk
Perry.
about Pierre Poilievre and not gonna do it, not gonna be there. And like I don't want to toot my own horn, but like I called this 2 years ago, and have been getting louder ever since. What's up, Harry? Um,
I feel like Frontline and I were having a discussion last night,
oh,
and I
yeah.
said I don't think we're getting the real deal when he says he wants to work with Carney. Like I think he's trying to get, or he wants. I think he's trying to get his Cheeto dust on Carney
Yeah,
to try to smear him. Like maybe that people would be silly enough to believe that Carney's more of a conservative than a liberal.
yeah, that's right. That's kind of the vibe that we were getting in the media too. The media was pushing that pretty hard. But
Yeah.
it's the rebound effect, right? Like we saw what happened in the States due to Trump and who he aligned with. We've already heard Pierre Poilievre over the last 4 years talking about this, that, and the other. He called Canadians stupid for electing liberal governments. He called people in Canada stupid for believing in change, and and
Hmm.
and he's postured to put us in a position to be uh, in the same kind of ilk as the American systems, right? Like that's what he
Yeah.
wants. That's what they're trying to do. And I think
But he's going to give working seniors 15%. No, was it? Oh, it's more than that. It's like 34% or something back, or 35% if you're a working senior
Pierre
back in
Poilievre.
tax breaks.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
part of his plan.
they calculated Pierre Poilievre's tax breaks on just the GST, and it's something like $14.1 billion. And then they calculated how many of the social programs he was talking about cutting, like over the years, and it adds up to $13.9 billion. So if you want to take this, we're not going to spend a dollar without cutting a dollar philosophy that he's been talking about. It would be not much of a stretch to say that he's going to get that GST cut from those social programs. And those were dental care, daycare, and I don't know if it's pharmacare. Dental care, daycare, and there was another one. And it was, you'll never buy a, hold on, wait. I'm about to buy an electric vehicle. Dude, I saw electric vehicles not. Sorry, my dealership sells a lot of electric vehicles.
I mean, I'm sure they're beneficial.
We bought in this last week. We bought 5 Teslas from people who are selling them back, and all we do is we ship them to the States. We don't even try to resell them. We ship them to the States, and they sell them at auction in the States.
Well, they're worthless here, and now they can't even get the
We
rebates
bought one
here.
today for 32,000. A used
Okay,
one.
not worthless.
Yeah, 32,000.
Wow. It's
But
the
it
price
was
of the metal or
was
the
a
plastic.
it was a Tesla model, not Y, not Model 3. I don't know, one of them. It was nice.
Okay, so I'm welcoming everybody to Beaver Politics tonight with my guest Happy, my co-host Happy, and we are here for debate night in the Woodland. Bring it on! We're ready. We bought our special hat.
Soul.
Come on up if you want to debate.
Toyota
Hit
has
us
good
up.
hybrids. Yeah. We got good hybrids
We're-
at Ford. I saw Ford. I work for Ford. So they got.
I'm big on electric cars. I like them.
Well, my next car, all things go well in the next month or so, is going to be the Ford Mach-E. So it's a Mustang, but it's the electric Mach-E. It's so nice.
What's the best deal you can do on a Prius?
I don't have Priuses. I can get you a plug-in hybrid or a hybrid for like 45, brand new, 24, 25, fully equipped.
Okay, I feel like we're a little off topic. This is Beaver Politics, and we are here. We are the Beaver Network, and we are here to discuss, or not discuss, we're here to debate. Come on up.
Best vehicle in Canada is going to be the F-150.
Really?
I would say so. You can get a full-size Bronco that's pretty spectacular at Ford, but I guess the F-150 would be like competitive with the 1500 from Dodge, and then you have the Tundra, and then a bunch of different ones, but the F-150 is pretty badass. At the Rogue plant in Detroit, no more car talk. Okay, fine. They're still made everywhere. The electric cars are made in Mexico mostly, though, like the important parts. I'm going to have to trim my beard. Tell me why. The Ford Tremor.
Thank you, just in time. You had to save us from the singing.
Yeah.
Yeah, car talk was getting a little too, car talking.
Once he started bouncing into Backstreet Boys, we have to discussion. Happy.
Oh yeah, my ADHD kicks in, and everybody gets the bad end of that stick.
Hey,
So,
what's wrong with the Backstreet Boys?
Talk about why conservatives.
Nothing.
Justin Trudeau leaves office. Carney steps in, and conservatives are still crying. They're still making up BS. They're talking about someone's grandfather, someone's uncle, someone's in-laws. Always trying to bring some kind of weird like alliance thing or whatever. Dangerous.
Talk about living rent-free.
Hey brother, I'm going next week. Take a look right on. I'm getting some wild garlic plants called ramps. The guy just texted
Ramps?
me. Yeah, it's wild garlic. Look it up. Quebecois garlic.
I will.
Yeah. It's pretty popular around these parts. There's a weird harvesting technique. Like it takes like 2 years before you can harvest it.
Look at
So
us.
so enough about me.
Let's talk just in time.
Sure. Did anybody hear about the call with Carney and Trump today? I don't think anybody's heard about that, have they?
I heard it. I heard about
Hey,
it. I mean, I wasn't involved personally, but I heard about it. They all said
Yeah,
that
it's
it was positive. I don't know. My conservative friend sent
it's
me a
all,
link. Go ahead.
Happy,
You
let him
go.
speak.
I didn't know he was
it's
talking.
all it's all it's all part of the bigger scheme here. Anybody, unfortunately, fortunately in Canada, we're the fifth most educated citizenry in the world, so we can think for ourselves here. Because if this was going on in the United States, people would think, oh, Trump likes Carney, therefore we shouldn't vote for Carney. But right now, Trump looks like Carney's, biatch, right? That's what he looks like right now, because Carney said, I won't take the call until I get respect for the country and we have a comprehensive conversation, and that's the topic. And so we got both of those. And then coming out of it, Trump's talking about tariffs. I don't know if you caught the very last thing he said about that when they were talking about tariffs. He said, we've been treated very, very unfairly, and I'm not talking about Canada. He said that under his breath. And so April 2nd is going to be Liberation Day. Now, my sense is that what he's trying to do, he's trying to show, oh, I'm aligned with Carney now to try to get some of the vote to swing back to Poilievre. But he just looks like he's being played by Carney. Like Carney looks like he's done everything absolutely right here. And despite Trump's infantile attempt to try to fool us in Canada.
Yeah, especially in the
Yeah.
He just looks like
turn, right?
he just looks like he's getting played like a fiddle.
Yeah. He's like
And,
I-
and I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
he's like a loudmouth kid that gets caught in trouble and is braggadocious amongst his peers, but when somebody who's a little bit more, authoritative or knows, like not in the police authoritative, but like in subjects or in education or has a concept of diplomacy, steps in and all of a sudden, oh no, he's right. No, it's cool. Like I just think it's an about face.
I'd love
Yeah,
to chime
I
in.
think-
I feel like
Go ahead.
there's a little bit of Cheeto dust he's trying to dust on Carney to make him look a little dirty.
Mhm.
I know this because I have a BA and a degree in Days of Our Lives. And I have also seen and prepared with many years at WWE. And I know that he has Linda McMahon in his corner with the fake blood packet awaiting,
Oh my god.
right?
Oh, it's an infantile attempt to at reverse psychology. It's grade 1 level, literally. And thank gosh we're Canadians and we have a level of intellect that we can actually critically think, because he's fooling nobody. And in fact, he looked bad. It looks like Carney's playing him. It's the actual
Yeah.
reverse of the reverse. If you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's making Carney look better.
Does Terry have something to say about the WEF too?
Terry, come on up and chat. We're good to go.
What is it that
Well,
people
you can even bring a friend of yours, Terry. We're good with that.
You
Bring
can
a friend.
Call your mom. Call your mom, Terry. She misses you.
When anybody, if anybody with any level of awareness listens to Poilievre talk and answer questions, and then listens to Carney talk and answer questions, I think a reporter framed it up very, very succinctly the other day. They said, the problem with Carney is when you ask him a question, he gives you a comprehensive, direct answer. Oh, isn't that shocking? And why? Because the guy's got an intellect that can navigate around a question, find its political holes, and avoid them, and then answer the question in a way that we can understand as Canadians, and everybody at every level can understand as Canadians.
Answers questions.
The best Carney
Yeah.
response, I think, is so far at this point in time is going to be, Rosemary, look within your soul.
Yes. She is incredibly biased against this guy. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
She has
That,
gotten more
yeah,
Batwing, you know, as it goes along.
there is something going on. I mean, I had a lot of respect for her over the years. She was hard on everybody, but she seems to just have a disdain for Carney, and I can't figure that out. And you shouldn't be able to see that in a journalist,
No, you're
right?
right.
Not
Check
a
it in her
true
bank
journalist.
account. Check her bank
Yeah,
account.
there's something.
I honestly wonder. I look at the CBC and I'm thinking, how could they choose her over Rachel Gilmore? Rachel
Yeah,
Gilmore has
yeah,
talent, talent,
she
Well, also
does. She
doing
Rachel
does.
the work.
Gilmore. I think Rachel Gilmore was going to cut her teeth on some independent journalism. I think she's kind of put herself in that spot.
I think she's moderating the debate, isn't she?
Really?
I heard
There's
she
no
was
way.
hired to. I heard she is hired to moderate the debate. I think I talked to Frontline about this last night. I could be wrong, but I thought I understood that. So
Rachel is
I'm
on
pretty stoked.
CBC Monday mornings. Well, she's
Oh,
giving up
just
her press badge apparently, so I don't know.
I don't know. I just heard that last night. I hope it's true. But I'm just going to take a shameless moment to plug Beaver Politics. Tapping is clapping and sharing is caring. We really appreciate you and all your guests to help grow the Beaver Dam. We're working together in the Beaver Network to get the information out here. And tonight is debate night with Happy and Mrs. Radical.
The
Well,
exordium
you
of
got a
discourse. That's what we're going to
you,
call
you,
it.
you got a bunch of guys that are
Hey,
trolling
Sean.
here in the chat, and are any of them requesting to come up? Because I'd love to
Uh,
talk to
They're all
faceless,
in a
invited.
debate.
Come on up. Knock, knock, knock. Come
faceless
on.
cowards.
What?
Cowards.
Well, let's see if we can entice them. Happy. I won't use a word with more than two syllables, guys.
That's not happening. Happening. No, not happening. Christmas. Yeah, okay, that one works. Sure,
We're
brother.
ready for it.
Ouch. A beautiful Coley. Oh, yeah, that was ouch. There was shade there. There's no doubt about it. And it's deserved shade.
I still think
It's
Justin Trudeau is a
absolutely
better choice
deserved.
than Pierre Poilievre. You know what would be funny is if Justin Trudeau came back in 2 years like his dad did. But I think his dad
Yeah.
came back
I
sooner,
said
right?
that the other day, right? Oh my
Carney
gosh,
comes
his
Yeah.
in.
dad.
Yeah, Carney comes in, gets the books in order, dipsy doodles,
Uh-huh.
and out the door, and then Trudeau comes back in like, "Hey guys, turns out I wasn't done."
Yeah. Well, Trump has done our country an enormous favor because
It's turning out
Carney,
to be that way.
Carney, as brilliant as he is going to diversify our economy and is going to find new trading partners that takes the reliance off of one primary trading partner. And it's the Walmart thing, right? If you're selling all your stuff to Walmart and Walmart says, I don't want you anymore, you're out of business.
You know
And
what?
the
I
problem
don't.
with,
Yeah,
yeah,
right. Exactly that. I don't think like. So we didn't do it out of need. Like we didn't need them to buy everything
no,
we got. Like it was an understanding. It was like like you said the other night. A gentle person's gentle people. Should we say gentle people? Handshake, right? Like an understanding between two people. This is how we're gonna do business because we're better than the rest of the world if we're together. And then all of a sudden, this guy's like, "Oh, they're taking advantage of us." And we're like, "We're feeding your
well,
population. How is that
well,
taking advantage of you?" Like,
it's worse than that. It was not a handshake. It was a signed trade agreement by Mr. Trump himself that he
yeah,
is now
now,
violating,
yeah,
with his tariffs. And so if a contract's not worth the paper it's written on, and 77 million Americans are supporting that kind of behavior,
yep.
we have no choice but to move elsewhere with our
And we did
incredible
it so
wealth that we
quickly.
have in this country.
So quickly, we've already done it. Like,
Terry, 1977, I have invited you up. You're more than welcome to bring your receipts. We're here for you. Let's have this conversation.
oh, they don't know how to have a conversation. So click on that link down below if you haven't already registered to vote for the federal election. Take like 3 minutes, go register, and get her done. it's pretty much automatic. But and you don't need to register before you vote. You can show up with proof and all that stuff and vote in that area anyways. But it's good to let the census know that voter intentions are out there. We definitely need more people to show up.
And you know what? I have a son with special needs, and I work with a gentleman that has special needs. Call your local voting office. They will make special spaces for you and accommodate. And you can start having conversations with your people now, on the value of voting, however you need to explain it. My son's value is in plushies. So we're looking at all the parties, and we got all the right colors piled up, and we talk about which party is going to give him the most plushies. For him, that's how it works.
He gets to participate. They will even come to your house if you have mobility issues. God damn, good enough.
There's no reason not to
How
vote.
much of my tax money is that costing? How much?
Another kind of fun fact that I don't think most people are aware of, but our soon-to-be newest Prime Minister, hopefully, Mark Carney, of course, has got his PhD in economics. But, Claudia Sheinbaum in Mexico has
Love
her PhD as well. Her master's in physics and a PhD in
She's
environmental
amazing.
engineering, I believe it is. And so you have this pincer. You got Trump in the middle.
Do you follow her
The guy-
on the TikTok app?
Oh yeah. Did you see the thing she posted today?
No, I haven't. I was working all day. I was going to check it out.
It's a letter to Mr. Trump to talk about the other 7.5 billion people in the world that don't give a hoot about America and could bankrupt America tomorrow. Oh my
man,
goodness.
she ain't taking any
It's
shit.
fantastic.
They rolled out two.
Even Americans are not buying American.
They're buying Canadian.
I know that
They are. There was a live today, and they were telling us that.
Yeah.
I'm buying Mexican up here too. I buy Mexican and Canadian stuff. Anything that's not American.
So I know you're looking for ops. Do you want me to pretend to be an op, or do you want me?
I don't know.
I don't know. Why don't you
like to hang
throw
up
out
on
some
anybody, though.
questions?
I don't wanna
Okay,
hang
I
up on anybody.
actually have a question. So now that
Make it spicy.
the polls are starting to show, a little bit of strength in the liberal side, what do you think Pierre's going to do next? Because, obviously the propaganda and the smear campaigning isn't working. So,
What do you think the chances are that he leaves and like Stephen Harper comes in to hold it down for a bit?
No,
I think
Doug
he's going
Ford.
to try to look like a liberal. I think he's going to try to look as far left as possible, but with a little strength. So like that 35% for seniors, but a working senior. You know what I mean?
He's doubled down.
see, I think he's doing more of the Trump
Alberta is
Oh,
going
yeah?
to be fine.
beacon. That's
Just
what I'm
get those
hearing,
options to
anyways.
separate. We only need a 33% vote. You should really look into that, Terry. You should really look into that. Because even if Alberta does get the vote to separate, they still need to bring that vote to the rest of the provinces through parliamentary discourse and have a majority amongst them approve it. Not only that, you can go fuck yourself.
Don't hold back, Abby. Tell us how you
There's
really
the
feel.
spice.
I don't know why that came
Right?
out. I was going to say something else, but then I just got fed up with being nice.
One of the biggest
Where?
compliments you can get as a panel is when you invite the opposition up, and because of the panelists, they won't come because they cannot make a case. It's not there. It's not possible for them to make a case with any kind of facts or any kind of receipts. And so
I would even
here you are.
argue WEF as well being a positive impact in the world. I would argue
Absolutely.
that sustainable development goals are essential to us evolving, and becoming.
You know what Trump said today? He shoots himself in the foot every time. So this is the talk when he came on after Carney's call. He was when he was authorizing that new judge in New Jersey or that new DA in New Jersey, and he was talking about Greenland, and he said, you know, the Russians are there, the Chinese are there, and they're icebreakers, and they don't even need icebreakers anymore because of the weather, because of the climate. He says, yeah, they're all melting. He just shot himself in the foot by admitting climate change, and that's why, you know, the Chinese and the Russians can navigate through the northern waters now without icebreakers because there ain't any
And
ice
he
left
told
out
you
there.
why he wants the icebreakers so he can take the Arctic.
Yep, that's right. Yep.
It's kind
I
of
mean,
been the
it's a
long game for a very long time.
yeah. Well, that'll be interesting. Anyways, I've got to step away and let somebody an op come up. Thank you for having me up and
No
starting the
problem.
debate.
Terry will
I will
come.
happy to see you
Terry
next
believes
time.
everything.
Take Terry. Does he? Poor
Yeah,
Terry.
poor Terry.
Come on, Terry.
Somebody said it on the internet, so it must be true.
Thank you. My hat says Canada's already great. Had it for a while. Didn't anticipate I need it as much as I do now.
Well, come on up a bit and tell us all about it. Somebody come
Or
up.
did he say, oh, and what? Oh, please come up.
Somebody come up. Come on.
Come on up.
Get out of your
I
mama's
want to hear your
basement.
message. I really want to hear your message. I want to hear what you're thinking and what's making you rock.
Oh, hi, Dylan.
Come on up. Let's have a conversation.
This is like 1, 2. I mean, we've got at least four conservatives in here. Come on.
At least. Come on up, guys.
Please tell us. Come up and just tell us one thing you like about Pierre. Just one.
Or just like your opinion on how things are going to roll. I'm just curious of your take. I mean, we're all Canadians, right? Um,
Miss you too, Dylan. Yes, text me or call me tomorrow.
Yeah, I was in an American Live with another lady named Mrs. Radical who always wears a hat like mine.
No way. That's
And
awesome.
she's like, I've got maple syrup. I love you guys.
That's awesome. I don't know. I have a sinking feeling I'm shadow banned right now. So
Yeah, well, all of our lives have to be watched over before or go through that view thing before they get put up for some reason all of a sudden, like the
yeah,
past 2 days.
yep.
Frickin' annoying.
It is.
Hmm.
Well, the thing is though is that I've had videos taken down, but if I post them on my stories, they don't get taken down. Just if I post them on my page.
Come up, opposition, if you're up to it. If you want to engage, debate, come on up. Tapping is clapping and sharing is caring.
I
My
even,
life.
I even
Was
sent
it?
this out to a few conservatives. I don't know where they are.
Where are they? Should we sing for them?
Conservatives anymore. I let them speak their speak, and then I speak my truth, and I walk out. They were talking on immigration in the live I was in this morning, and I was like, you know what? If you're gonna look at immigration, you gotta look at yourself. And they're like, what? I'm like, you gotta look at yourself. So you all sit here and are complaining and bickering about immigration and how you didn't want them here and blah 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 blah. Well, we didn't want y'all here in the first place. So how about you take that and you smoke it? And they're like, that's not fair. We didn't ask to be here. I'm like, neither did I. We are.
You know what I'd like to see is I'd like to start seeing people kind of go undercover into Discords and other groups like that and start finding out
Oh, I
what
can
they're
do
talking
that.
about. Because Frontline is very concerned about some of the conversations, and it's pretty. They're showing each other their
I'll
pew
do it.
pews
Oh
and
wow.
saying that there's going to be like a January 6th happening in Canada after this election,
Really?
and
The fuck there
it's
is.
it's a really disturbing conversation. She's really worried. So we got to start putting ourselves out there and figuring this stuff out.
Um, I,
Um,
I could infiltrate. Oh,
Pardon?
sorry about that. I can go in and do what they need to be done. So,
I think we're going to have a few people doing that and having some different accounts so we can do that. I have one. I'll go try.
oh, I have one.
I
They
mean, we
don't
did it all
even.
through the convoy.
Yeah, I don't even fucking know. Like, I can just make an up account and be like, have it
Mhm.
say "fuck Carney" or something. Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
it's not hard. I mean,
Have a picture of a truck or a dog.
Or a
I'll
big
have like,
fish.
I'll just, I'll have that "fuck Carney" sign on it. I'll totally
They're
make it
so
right now. I
original.
don't,
They're
fuck
so
Carney.
original. This is like 2016 all over again.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was like, my cousin bought a sweater and I laughed at him. I'm like, you wasted your money, and just so you know. He's like, no, I didn't. I'm like, you did. And then Trudeau stepped down and Carney got elected in, and
They're all still, sorry, I had a bite of noodles. They're all still dreaming of Trump or Trudeau.
well, and he's like, so fuck Trudeau. I'm like,
Wet
dude,
dreams.
Trudeau. I was like, Trudeau's not even in the race. Like,
They
you
don't
can
care.
let him fucking live. He's at Home Depot. Like, go if you want to talk to him at Home Depot. I'm pretty sure he's fine. Like, and then he was trying to like preach me about the Bible, and I was like, okay,
Perry, up
cool.
until about a week ago, Berta Proud was following me.
Burn and proud.
Oh, get
Yeah.
out.
I had a few convoyers following me for a while, and then I got into it with them in one of my posts, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And I
I had
Um.
True North following me yesterday.
Ew.
Right? I'm like, what the
The
hell?
fuck?
No. Go away.
I would have been like, no, thank you, ma'am or sir.
Hmm.
Like,
when they
it's
There
follow
was
me,
some yelling happening.
when they follow me, I think, oh, maybe they'll just happen to see a post of mine and they'll be like, oh, you know what? That kind of makes sense. Or, I never thought about it that way. But then it was like, yeah, no,
there's someone
Hey,
on
Zen.
it's
here.
laughable.
Zen, send Berta Proud a message, an invite to the show.
Let's
I'd
see if I
rather
can
eat
still find
poop.
them.
I'd rather eat a poop sandwich than talk to them.
I don't blame you.
There was one
I
person.
blocked them.
There's one person on here that I would really like to talk to.
Hmm.
That's a good one,
Oh my
Happy.
god, that's funny. No, no, no. There's one person on here I'd really like you guys to talk to and try and change their mind because she is so convinced that the cons are the only way to go.
Hmm.
And I'm like, and she's like, oh, you follow me into all these lives. I'm like, yeah, it seems kind of funny that I follow you into live, and then when I host a live, you step into my live. Like, am I following you into my own live? And she's like, what are you
Is her
talking
name
about? I'm like,
Josie?
no, 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 no. Oh, that one's a fun one. No, her name is T Reed. She, she like tells everybody how I'm like following her into these lives, and I'm like, okay, cool.
And I had muted myself because I felt I was talking too much at a turn, and I forgot that I had muted myself. So I was just talking. You're like,
Just kept talking away,
Welcome
right?
back, Happy.
yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah. You need a better bait background, I think. You need to become a master debater. So you need
I
to
got
make
this
your
one.
screen, the Beaver Politics screen,
Bernie.
huge. You got to make it huge. Make yourself huge.
Huge.
Me?
Huge.
Huge. I got this.
I can't do
I,
it from up here.
I love Bernie too.
He's the best.
So if you put yourself in the big and just small and the left and the right and the up and the down, you can make a good bait photo like the one I got in the background. Or you can do like, hold on, I got a better one. Let me find it. Because I thought I was talking to y'all while I was looking for the photo. So I'm like having full conversations and I can't see anybody, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, that's it. That's absolutely valid.
I think I've done that before myself, actually.
This is like my favorite thing in the world. They're like, Canadians here support Trump. And they're like, I don't get it. I'm like, you know,
That's awesome.
I still haven't caught on.
Oh, nice, Happy.
Or here's this.
Very nice. I mean, they can't get him out of his head. I can't get you out of
No.
my head, no matter. It's my turn, Happy. Oh, I saw that one yesterday. That's brilliant, smart.
That's awesome. Oh my god.
Okay, I think we're gonna have a meme war. I think we've skipped the whole debate.
Oh shit. No, no, no. It says,
For your
we,
lovin's all I think about.
oh shit. No, I didn't
Can't
want to
get
do
you
that.
out of my
Okay,
head.
change the rules here. Every meme you put up, you have to come up with a theme song to go with the meme.
Oh, this
Oh
one
my.
actually has its own
Can't
theme
touch
song.
this.
It says basically,
Oh, that one
American
looks.
Idiot. I want to be an American Idiot.
That one
It
looks
says,
sad.
this one is, oh god, what does it say again? Dear United States, can you change your national anthem to I want to be an American Idiot for the next 4 years, sincerely in the entire world.
I can't remember her name. Say her name. Say
I feel like
her.
Trudeau should have where I want to get that filter with Trudeau. I think there's a face filter,
Yeah, there
and I want
totally
to like
is.
be. I think he's flying in the sky. Say
With the
my
money,
name, say my
money, money.
name.
I think that
Never,
is
people. Yeah, that's
Oh,
what it
nice,
is.
Marshy. Pardon me.
Does my cat finally want to come in, or does she want to sit there and stare at me, open the door, and then she just sits there and looks at me?
I have to be very
Cats.
careful with some of the memes I have because
We lost Marsh. Is that not X-rated? We are looking for ops to have a debate with,
Rosie.
but it's not working so well.
bum bum bum
But
bum.
feel free to share, my friends, and put
Hi.
this out there and see if we can get any ops. And when we get an op, we'll get you to drop down, someone to drop down, because we don't want to like 2-on-1 them. That's mean.
I don't think it's conducive to debating to have the 4 equal size squares. You need to have one big square with little micro squares, and make yourself a background.
How do I do
You
that?
have to stay the big square, so when people like, as you should be tapping to like, they have to do it on your screen. So if you have to be big.
How do I make myself big?
You click the little dudes.
No, yep, the little dudes, and then you go to like the pinwheel thing
And then
or
it gives you a layout.
To the bottom? Oh, the square?
yeah,
No, that's
it's
Well,
like
the
a
Fun Kit.
bubble.
moderators
Oh, okay.
actually should be able to
Okay,
do
and
it.
Fun Kit. Okay, just a second.
The ops are
Just a
hiding. No, they're all drinking in the
second.
garage.
I could get Angry Beaver to come in here and I could yell at her if you really want.
Yeah, he's all
Is
right,
that
man. He just
Lorelai,
has
Angry
some really
Beaver?
shitty views.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
Hi.
Lorelai?
No.
Yep.
Oh, are you talking
Lorelai's
about
Angry
Lorelai?
Beaver. Yeah, Angry Beaver.
Oh,
We
no,
could
no,
go
you
I've
round
yell
and
at her.
back.
always
She
made
starts to
it a
wake up
habit not to
outside
have
the app.
much to do with
Look at
him.
that. She doesn't play for funsies. She plays for like
No,
prison.
no.
I don't have
Like,
to play for funsies either. I could make her cry.
Mm,
I've always wanted to make this person cry. After her last video that I seen, yeah, no, I'm not impressed at all.
Betty.
The last video I seen of hers was Make Canada White Again.
I don't know. I'd like somebody to come up and argue the benefits of voting for Pierre Poilievre,
Oh
and
my God, he's not like the liberals. He's gonna save Canada. We're
you
such a
know,
broken. I can be an op if you really want. Happy.
yeah, but you get crushed because you don't believe in
Probably,
what we're
but you
saying.
know.
I mean, whatever. Like you can still say that, but you can also say that without him, none of the progress that happened would have happened
Oh, he's
under any
gonna
other
save our
administration,
country.
or it would have already happened. So
He's my best friend.
the conservative supporters are crying in their beers. It's Friday.
Okay.
Don't forget to register to vote. You guys need to register to vote for funsies. I can argue the benefits of voting for
And you
Pierre
should
too.
all be going out early to vote. Early voting is beneficial.
I always try to hedge my bets, so I'll wait to the end.
Oompa, oompa, doo-ba-doo-doo.
uh,
Comfort comes from cocoa plant.
Pierre Poilievre's
Cocoa.
GST tax cut.
Sorry, my Wi-Fi's being quirky.
That
Oh, that's okay.
happens.
With all the other social cuts he's
He
going to
has
need to
lots of
do
energy,
to make
but
up
it's
for
because
that
he's
money,
got
it's going to be
no
difficult.
he's got no comprehension skill when it comes to like real life issues because he follows nonsense. He can't decipher the nonsense he believes from the truth.
He has
Great family values.
family. He has family.
Okay.
Here,
How much is gas? Gas. Hey, gas didn't go down. The carbon tax is gone and the gas price stayed the same. Well, they got to make up for all those years with the cut tax. We got to make that money back. Right? Right?
Oh, this
Yeah,
will
they
bring
got to
all
make
the
that. There you
conservatives
go.
in.
Inside. 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 So I found a veterinarian who is going to take the lump off my dog's leg off in a surgical procedure.
So your veterinarian is going to take your dog's leg off?
Oh, the
No, the
lump.
lump that's wrapped around my dog's leg.
Oh, oh, I thought you said he was going to take the lump off your dog's lump leg. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
It were up here. I'm in Kawartha Lakes. I loved Kawartha Lakes. I ate that ice
Yes,
cream all the time. I
it is
love
pretty
ice cream.
good.
All right. I think we're so peaceful all the time, trying to, you know, we got to
Pronouns
find
and the
an individual, an ops individual, a ruggler. Go clammy talk. Find that guy. Bring him up. Find I don't know.
here's
bring
one you
up
can,
who?
yeah,
No carbon tax equals gas hike, I guess,
yes,
right?
yeah.
Oh shit. Yeah.
It says pronouns aren't the people picking your vegetables are not the problem.
I'd love to get those people at that border up in Canada. We need them in our labor
Oh,
force.
exactly. And we'll just trade them for the Maple Mega and the ones who want to become the U.S. Because I'm
Totally
building a
fast track
catapult.
their
We're taking.
citizenship. I'd do
No, I'm
everything.
fuck their trash. Fuck that noise. I'm gonna make a catapult and throw them over the fucking
I
49
mean,
line.
because like the easiest way to do it would be to like extend.
Catapult them.
No, what?
You put them on the catapult, and you launch it into the 49th parallel going towards the U.S. And then you take the people that want to actually do a job and have a good life and live in a country where they, have freedoms.
Did you say catapult
Yes.
from the Mexico-U.S. border?
No, 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 no. The people that want Canada to be the 51st state, put them on the catapult and fly them over that way to the 49th
Oh,
parallel to the U.S.
right on.
Like
Okay.
slingshot them into the U.S.
Did
Where
either
the
of
fire? No,
you
you'd have to build it. You'd have to build it, and I think a trebuchet would work better because it gets more distance, more height.
did either of you hear what Pierre Poilievre said today about life in prison for fentanyl dealers and human traffickers
Yeah,
and
he'd have to pass
and
that through
UP
the Supreme
smellers?
Court. Yeah, it won't
Yeah.
hold up in the Supreme Court. That's why we have that quote unquote catch and release. These fuck.
It's really
These,
two
it,
opposite, totally smoke and mirrors opposite of Pierre Poilievre, like saying for pew-pews that would be illegal. They're all about those types of things.
yeah, but most Canadians aren't. And I think that we have like 2-3 million Canadians who are avid, owners of those things, and
Hmm.
who see it as an inherent right. And then there's 25 million who are like, I don't care one way or another, like whatever, we should move past it. And I
Yeah.
think, we're placating, we're acquiescing to like the 1-2 million people on these kinds of things, and we're
Hmm.
handling
Hmm.
them with kid gloves, and it's I don't.
Sass would like to come up.
I got her.
Okay.
Sassy. Oh
It's
shit. Sassy gonna throw
yeah.
people. It's
I
fine.
tried. I thought I had her. Where'd you go,
But
Sassy?
you know, I think that Pierre says a lot of stuff, but he can't do it because what you were talking about doesn't needs sorry, what you're talking about needs to go through the Supreme Court first, like because if people can just appeal based on a violation of their civic rights in Canada, recognize civic rights, then those charges and the convictions would all be overturned, because that supersedes any lawful judgment, right? Like if you're violating civic rights to get those judgments, then
Okay.
We
But then
also
how
don't
about
have the capacity to hold people on bail, like without bail, because we don't have the capacity in our jails to hold that number of people who are awaiting trial. We don't have enough judges. We don't have enough court dates. It's not realistic for that reason. And to my way of thinking, isn't someone innocent until proven guilty?
mm-hmm.
yes. But
Well, they're
here's the
talking
thing
about
with the
reoffenders and stuff like that, people who have a propensity to commit the
I
same
know,
crimes
and they
over and over
do.
again.
In order to hold somebody without bail, they do a whole like
Yeah, a threat to society or a threat to
but
flight.
here's the
they do
thing.
a
Why are we
pre-sentence. They do pre-sentence reports,
Yeah.
and
what
if somebody is committing their first crime ever, I would argue that unless it's one of the more
Exactly that.
serious felonies,
Yeah.
bail should be an option.
here's the
Yeah, of
thing.
course.
If we're gonna go by innocent until proven guilty, then Danielle Smith should be in prison for the rest of her life for the treasonous acts that she's committing against Canada. I think that's fair. She knows what she's doing is wrong. She's trying to do the election interference shit. She knows that Pierre's probably gonna get away with the shit that he's going through. They need to be in prison for the rest of their fucking lives if they're gonna be treasonous to Canada. Sorry.
I I think too, though, when we talk about our bail system, there are some people that really just need to be in bail or in jail for their wellness,
Mm-hmm.
for their mental health. There's so
There's
many
already
gray
provisions for that.
areas, and there are provisions, but there are provisions that they can't always access either, that mental health uses as and other programs. I worked for years with repeat offenders, and sometimes jail is better than a treatment center.
And again, that's
If you can
another
even get
thing.
in a
I
treatment
think
center.
Danielle is poisonous. I think she's dangerous to herself, and not only to herself but her constituents. And
That's the only way you get her out is in her own constituency right now. If you can convince enough people to petition
well,
for an election, like
you haven't
you know,
seen how
They
many
have 2 more
petitions
years
I.
with her.
yeah, but
Oh,
if you get the only way is if you can get the constituency to vote against her own
Yeah.
constituency.
yeah, her own constituency has
Yeah,
been sending me.
they're
Uh,
not doing it.
no, I know they're sending me. Oh God, what is it? Petition after petition after petition. Every
Yeah.
time I sign a petition, I get another one. I sign that one, another one pops
Yeah,
up.
there's only certain petitions that are valid though.
Can,
Like
can I
Yeah.
just can I just answer this person in the
Yeah,
comments?
absolutely.
He said, "How is jail helping mental health?" There's a lot of different reasons, but one example could be a repeat offender who is continuously addicted to drugs, and their main issue is probably their mental health, and they're not going to go looking for it if they're on the street.
also when you're in prison you get your pharmaceuticals taken care of. So like if your erratic behavior is due to not having, antipsychotics or whatever, you're gonna get on those.
The
And
ironic
sometimes it's a vicious circle, right? With housing, like if you don't have housing, you use, right? When
Mhm.
you don't have housing, there's a lot of things you need. You
Right.
need to meet your needs. If you don't have money, you've got to go out and steal to meet those needs,
100%.
right? You've got to go put your stuff somewhere. Somebody's going to steal your stuff. Then you've got to go steal to get more stuff. It's this constant vicious circle. I've seen, and sometimes jail really is the only spot that's acceptable because those people can't slow themselves down. They don't
Right.
have a safe place to be.
Yeah,
They're not well enough to be anywhere.
I know people who would go to jail just to dry out for a couple of days and eat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they needed
Well, I mean,
help and
like,
they couldn't.
yeah,
It's rather ironic that they're having these um, forced institutions for forced treatment institutions
yeah.
when they probably didn't have adequate detox spaces or treatment facilities in the first place.
Well,
We
they
have
have a
another.
right. They have a right. It's against their human rights to make them do
It
something
is.
they don't want to do. So they are allowed to say, no, thank you. I'm not ready for
Yeah,
that.
but the only choice is jail or there, right? Like, and
Right.
But it's
you
not
know,
always that way.
Hey,
It's not
no, with
always
her
that.
law it is.
we
But
have
I'm in
another
With her
Ontario.
jail.
We
law, when they're
certainly
doing
do
forced
not
Okay,
have
rehabilitation,
one at a time, or I'll ask everybody to mute their mics, okay? We want to
when,
hear
Okay.
each other.
when they're doing the forced rehabilitation in Alberta, it's not the same thing as making a choice here where you're like, oh, it's one way or the other. It's, you have that choice here. There, it's like you choose this or you go to jail and get a criminal record, or, like they're not giving a choice, and then that becomes like another cycle of incarceration and recidivism.
And I don't think RCMP officers are looking to put people in jail. I don't think that's happening at all. Maybe in some cases, I'm not sure, but I don't think that's happening greater over all of Canada. But there are instances, and they'll say that these people are unhousable for many different reasons. So it could be their mental health, it could be, but they can also be a risk to society. And so for that term, until they can be going through that court process, it might be safer for the individual and it may be safer for society for that individual to be locked down. And you can't force them into treatment, then the only choice really at that point is to lock that individual down until that process engages.
Well,
Right.
if you think about it, right, the way that's going is they're gonna be um if they don't go to treatment and they get put in jail, they're gonna be detoxing anyway. But that's the thing. When you detox somebody against their will, you're going to end up being their demise because they're gonna go back out and use once they've detoxed. Because I've had this happen. My friend was in the hospital. He wanted to get clean. Everyone's like, "Oh yeah, come to Edmonton." They had a spot for him in rehab, and he just needed a few days to spend before he could go into this rehab center. And the people that said, "Yeah, come to Edmonton, we got you," and the guy ended up getting a batch of something that his body was no longer used to, and he ended up passing away because of that. So
Right.
you're ending up putting more people in the ground than you are helping them by forced rehabilitation.
Yeah,
And
for
I stand
sure.
on
Thanks,
it.
Marsh. I'd like to hear from Zen for a minute. I think she wanted to chime in on this.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, there's a lot of different, like we've talked about before. There are gray areas, right? There's a lot of people on the street um, who are schizophrenic, or they're like it's a matter of, this is why we push for the sorry, my words are getting all messed up, for the transition housing, because it's just a matter of
Oh my
some of
God.
these people just need care, just care. It's not even about whether they are out stealing or doing anything illegal. They just need care. They need somebody to care about them, right? Because they feel like their only out is to get into trouble.
And they can't even, they have a hard time living in this shell we call a body.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Like just being in their own thoughts and in their own head 24 hours a day is really hard. So just existing on the street or anywhere else, like it's a terrible solution, but sometimes it's the only solution we
Well,
have.
I think that brings up the other point of like, you know, that brings up the other point of the ineffectiveness of the current prison system and the way we think about rehabilitation and the way we think about incarceration. And I feel like, you're talking about a very minute fraction of a percent of people who aren't redeemable in some way compared to general population. And I think offering different ways out of their situation, progressive ideas like obviously,
Housing,
job
housing,
Mhm.
job well, I'm talking about people who are in prison looking to get out after prison.
housing.
Yeah,
That's part of it for sure. For
It's
sure that's part
honestly
of it.
happy. I just want to share
it is
this
the
with you.
biggest.
In my area, when people get released from prison, they're usually at my doorstep first.
Yeah.
And
Right.
that's also where they're going to pick up all of the things they're not supposed to be smoking,
Yeah.
putting into their body,
I, I
drinking, or anything. It's like a hot
I agree
space.
that's a large portion
Can I
of the
just point out something
solution.
really quick though? The other housing problem is that a lot of these people cannot afford a place of their own, but they cannot afford to live with somebody because they know that will just ruin their
Eventually be
Trigger.
mental health
bad. Yeah.
100%. Right?
But like what I was saying wasn't necessarily instead of what you're saying, but it's like in conjunction with other
Sure.
ideas, like it's not a single solution. And obviously, if you don't have a safe place to go to, your mind is never going to be at rest. So like growth becomes really difficult. I'm also talking about providing people with education tools while they're in prison, like things to do there, on the job training, networking outside the prison system where they develop relationships with people where they're bonded through trust. And, maybe people are reaching back and pulling others forward, but like engineering those kind of streamlines so that, we try to reduce recidivism. We try to stop people from going back to prison, and repeating the same cycle. I'm not saying clean slate, you don't have to do your time, but I'm saying like engineer a way so people have hope, something to look
Yeah.
forward to when they leave prison, and that's
Yeah.
not going to fall into the same cycle. And of course, housing is an integral need that needs
Yeah.
to be met before we can grow, right? And so yes, obviously, I think that too. And I get ahead of myself sometimes, but
No, I totally agree.
No, I agree
Housing
too.
and
Yeah.
work, absolutely. Work,
The-
something for
yeah.
them to do so important.
The toolbox is very important. Okay, like that is one of the most important things, right? Is it's having those tools. And the other thing is that knowing somebody cares about them enough, because
Mhm.
like, yeah, we need more programs. We need more people in this industry helping because they're so overrun that they now feel as though it's just one person after another after another after another. Like there is no more of that caring. We do need to do more of this. It takes a village.
Of course it
People,
does.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
like
And that's why we
it's
have schools, community centers, and stuff like that in affluent
exactly.
areas. People who have money, communities who have invested into that community have these community engagement tools like safe schools, public parks, community centers, malls. We have the availability of these things, and although those other things might be present in all communities, they might not offer the same safety, and that's because of the privilege, right? Like it's definitely feels like a little bit of a blind eye and an irresponsible nature, right? Like contradictory to the ethics that we were
Yeah.
brought up with.
So right now we're facing the food banks are empty, and the um, like for example, here we had the free fridges, now they're all closed down. Like people don't know what to do, they don't know where to go, nobody wants to go ask their neighbor if they can help them out, and I don't know why. I know when I was growing up, if I needed lunch, all of our neighbors would feed me.
And I think it's hell yeah, and that still happens here, Zen. Like around here, that's not completely gone. Those kinds of
I'm
things.
sure it is in some places, but I
Yeah.
think in the majority of people are more worried about being judged right now than
I think a lot
having
of people are worried about themselves right now because of the fear propaganda and this whole it's been going on for 15 years, like this whole I'm going to get mine before you get yours
Yeah.
idea, this whole self-preservation and some kind of like blend of self-pity with like an ego or something. I can't explain it, but when I see it, I know it to see it. And it's just like a degradation of morals through like apathy and laziness and
You know,
mentally.
Zen, I'd love to just chime in and challenge some of our friends and people out there to start creating community. Because
Yes.
if
I already
everybody
have.
shows up with one can of beans, you
Mm.
know what I mean? That chili,
Look
it
at what
goes a
we
little
did
bit
during
bigger.
look
Hey,
at what we
don't
did during
interrupt me.
COVID. Sorry.
Thanks. Having all of those people come together and we keep doing it. And yeah, it happened in COVID. When I was in
Yeah.
COVID, they had food ninjas. People came into their, yeah, I've got a bag full of food. Can I drop it off at somebody's house? We may have to go back to that and start working on that piece. I know when I'm at the shelter, people know that there's food that's paid for that's brought into me, but I know a lot of people in my town, they're making a pot of chili, they're going to make an extra pot of chili and they're going to drop it off at the shelter. When they're going grocery shopping, they buy a couple more boxes of granola bar and they drop it off at the shelter. I get donations all day long. I also see people in my community driving up and down 10 Village where they're just dropping water off or ice
Yeah.
or, whatever they can. Just a little bit more.
During COVID, the city that I live in did a 1 day food drive, and they coordinated it so everything was picked up on people's front porch. They collected 2 million pounds of food.
Wow, that's awesome.
They did it 2 years in a row and then they stopped, but they should have just continued doing it every year because it's an easy way for anyone to donate because you just put it out on your front porch
we
and
have
they
we
come
have a
pick it up.
we have a pretty active counselor, and they're pretty active on social media, reaching out to them and pressuring them to adopt these kinds of measures through their funding and budget. Is not easy, but like now that we have social media, we can put pressure on our counselors to do that. I live in a very, very liberal area,
You know,
but I got distracted and I forgot there. But I think, oh, sorry. And I think community engagement goes beyond just, again, I'm talking about food again and saying, but there is also like, when I was younger, people used to rent out the community center as adults, right? Like community
That's what
adults
I'm
would go
talking
and,
about. The
Mm-hmm.
community kitchen. Remember
yeah,
that?
Yep.
but
Yep.
they would also rent it out so that people could bring their children on Friday nights, right?
Yeah.
And parents didn't have to necessarily be there because they knew other parents were going to be there watching the kids.
Exactly.
So there's
Yeah.
like, 20, 30 kids in the community center playing basketball, board games, all sorts of different things. Like, nothing was organized. Sometimes there was organized, there's all sorts of ifs, ands, or buts. But like the bottom line is the community adults got together and started renting it out. And it was a place where, people who had children could bond, right? Like, holy
Right.
fuck, this shit's hard, like, hey, help out, like, we're here, right? And then everybody gets together and right back to your community village
Yep.
thing, right? Like,
Well, and we have some of that here in Medicine Hat. And we have, the Medicine Hat Cares Group, which is a nonprofit organization recognized by Canada, at the federal level. And I have given as much as I can to this group, and I have been yelled at by people in this group.
Maybe it's not the right group for you.
I haven't left the group because the head ups on this group have asked me not to leave because they've noticed how much I'm like not saying that I'm like Saint Mother Teresa or anything because God knows I'm not that, but like they're like, okay, we'll just get it figured out, and and all these people are like, oh, and it's just, why are we complaining about what we're not getting? Why are we not thanking
Hey,
people for what we are getting?
Smarsh, I'm going to ask you to be quiet. We're all going to put on our mics. I'm going to hand the headset to Radical. Radical just has something it's really important that he shares.
Hey there, everybody. There's just news coming across now that there has been a massive earthquake in Bangkok. It looks like it's about 7.7 on the Richter scale. This is a disaster. It's a major disaster. The few images that I'm seeing, we're already seeing collapsed buildings. The death toll is going to be extremely high. So I seems, huh? So looks like, yeah, there we have a fairly large natural disaster that's going on in that part of the world right now. So I just wanted to jump in and kind of frame that in for the audience here. As we kind of learn more here, obviously we'll know more. And if anybody's in the comments right now and has any more information on it, please fill us in the comments here and we'll just continue on. So sorry, I just wanted to throw that out there. Guys, you guys can open up back here.
Thank you for letting us know about that. That's
That's pretty scary.
disastrous. Yeah, scary for sure.
We're here. Yeah. My whole
Yep, Myanmar, that's correct. Yep, the Myanmar here. So yeah, 7.7 on the Richter scale is it looks like what it's watching buildings collapsing here, rooftop pools spilling over top of the buildings. Like it's a fairly significant earthquake. It looks like it's turning into a pretty big disaster.
Wow. 3 hours ago. Holy.
yeah. This is I'm sitting here worried about freaking. Oh my! I feel like a selfish human being.
Well, no, we were talking about real life stuff. This is just another real life thing that happened. Yeah,
Yeah.
But
tsunami
it
is what I was
should
going to ask.
not. It should not happen. Is what I'm saying. This should not be a thing
well,
where
Well,
it continues to fucking happen.
we
I
unfortunately
mean,
can't control natural disasters.
life is life. Life is life. Not that natural disaster one. I meant with human nature. You know,
Right.
like we're going to disagree and we're going to talk it out and we're going to argue, we're going to fight, and that's going to be the most important thing in our lives. And then when we get news like this and we look around and understand how privileged we are, of course we feel bad about it. There's no need to feel bad about it. As far as a moral position is concerned, be empathetic and feel for the people, but don't burden yourself with some kind of guilt for prioritizing your life, especially in a time of need. But just take a moment and be grateful for where you are, and maybe recognize that there's a loss in people's lives. And
this is why I fight for Canada, because I am so blessed to be here. I love my country.
Sorry, I'm just looking stuff up right now.
Yeah.
Alberta's not leaving anywhere. You got like 50,000 citizens that are going to get kicked out of the country in a couple of days, and you guys,
Yeah.
How about for those that
knee-deep in your own
want to leave,
bullshit.
get in their trucks and start a convoy to the States?
I would love to
Off
see
you
You know what I
go.
keep telling?
Don't let the door hit you
This
on
is
the ass on the way out.
this is why I'm telling you, catapult them
And
over
I'd
the
love for
49th parallel.
these same people always say that the Canadian military is weak. And they talk about it from behind an anonymous account. But there's
Yep.
plenty of JTF too, guys, in Ottawa. There's plenty of them. You want to say the military is weak? I dare you. I dare you to say it to one of those soldiers.
So you know that land that you seem to think Alberta's going to leave? Yeah. See, I'm in Alberta. I'm one Indigenous person in Alberta, and you're not taking my land from me. Sorry, I'll fight you tooth and nail for it. Sorry.
That's so funny. I grew up as a military brat. We have such an amazing military. Like, yeah, we're good.
People think because we don't brag about our military is that we don't have one.
Right.
It's not the U.S. military. I'm not delusional here. But like the U.S. military is like, oh, the world is dependent on us for our military investment, all this stuff, to keep the peace, to preserve the peace. Everybody became complacent. Everybody turns to the U.S. But then when you read about NATO and their directives of integrating globally the same software systems within their defense and offensive
Yeah.
units, the whole idea is that these platforms can move from country to country and maintain like a zero like downtime, right? Like right into battle, right there, everything is functioning.
I used to live in Goose Bay, Labrador on one of the Allied bases, Happy, and they
Yeah,
had all the F-18s flying in and out of there, and it was an Allied base. So we had
right.
the British, the German, the Dutch, the Americans, the Canadian, like all working together. Like, I used to get to play on Hercules airplanes and Labrador helicopters. It's the most amazing thing.
I think we have well, we had a squadron up there not too long ago, cold weather training.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But my point
Yep.
is that NATO has a buy American policy. Like that's integrated in their like manifesto is like, okay, the Americans have Lockheed Martin and the F-35s, and they have the best platform for jets, arguably. The Russians can say like cold weather, like it doesn't matter. But like they say that they have the best technologies. Bet everybody buys in. All that money goes into the US, right? That's why like when you say like raise the money you're spending on your GDP to your NATO contributions, all this other shit, right? Like that's all going into the US pocket.
Yeah.
And nobody sees that, right? Like nobody says that. Nobody talks about it in the USA.
You can sit there and say that, oh, the U.S. can only say they have the best military. Just because you spend more money on your military doesn't make it better, my dude. It doesn't.
Just because Trump says it's the best, we all know it doesn't mean it's the best.
Right.
Well, and look at them. Okay, yeah, you've got a great military, but how's it going to help you now when we have how many countries that'll come help support us? Nobody wants to support the U.S. now.
Over the
Yeah,
years, I've had many a veteran tell me that one thing that the Canadian military has always had that the U.S. military has never had is aim.
Nice.
And I've heard that from more than one veteran over the years. Because who is usually involved in friendly fire incidents?
I just
Happy
told
you're
this.
muted.
By percentage, they'd be up there because they're in the most conflicts. So they
Yeah.
probably have both the most accurate and the least accurate stats. I don't know. But the F-35 platform and all that stuff is far superior than what's going around in the world. We need to be observant of that. Getting these Gripens from another country, there's some truth to like the F-35 not being maneuverable in cold weather and the Gripen being better, but it doesn't matter. Like now that Trump has jeopardized all of that, the money has to go somewhere else. And then, it screws NATO super bad, the entire world.
Oh,
Smarshy, tell your friend to come up.
Yeah, come on up.
We like guests. We don't have to Google your name. I don't really use Google. It's not super reliable.
I use Google. It's a good starting point.
It's a starting point. It's a starting point.
Because like you can see like reputable stuff, and like you can find the sources for the claims, and then you can follow it back and read the direct data yourself. So, Google's good for a search engine, but like if you're reading like the paragraph, that's advertising, and oh yeah, I'm right, like that's not good practice. Yeah,
I'm usually looking for search engines that don't whitewash.
Yeah, keep looking. The Gripen doesn't have the cloaking ability that the F-35 does, and that's a difference maker. But the F-35 is like 120 million versus the Gripen being 35 million. So getting out of that contract probably wasn't so bad. Anyways, get your butt up here, you fucking conservatives.
Yeah. Where did that guy go? Like, he was so big about his name. Why doesn't he come up in a box?
Oh, because I told him that this is our land. This is my land, and he's a guest.
We do have to depend on the USA for technology. It's not because we have to depend on them. It's because we're invested with them, right? Like we invested with the United States, with NATO into their projects. They said, hey, we got this idea. We have these facilities. We have the infrastructure. We need the investment to pay the people, to pay for the protection of the software, all of these things. So everybody gets involved. We develop these great ideas. And guess what? Now Trump walks with it all. And guess what? Singapore's screwed. Taiwan is screwed. China, I saw a guy say today, it's like, who benefits from all this? Not the allies. But guess who? China. And then the second country is Russia.
Right.
So, like, if you're supportive of Trump and vis-a-vis, if you're supportive of Pierre Poilievre, then you're also supportive of China and Russia, and you're a sellout.
Yeah, so we can find common ground that we both don't want to separate. Our country is our country, their country is their country. If the people that want to go to the U.S. can voluntarily go to the U.S. and give up their citizenship. It's not up to one person or a bunch of people to tell us that Alberta wants to separate, because Alberta doesn't. Like maybe 13% of Alberta wants to separate. That's it. It's a big number, but it's still the 13% can go down there. I don't care.
To be clear, like I think it's important that we do recognize we need some of what this U.S. has for our military defense capabilities, and like measured actions to mitigate the next 4 years and try to dampen the impact that this erratic, irrational, and perfunctory government we have in the United States tries to do to us as a form of punishment for his small limp personality. I think we need to be ready to at least still maintain some kind of discourse and investment in certain technologies and certain capitalist ventures.
And we just need to get the people who don't want to separate to be part of the U.S. We just need to get louder than the loud people. That's all we got to do.
That's right. And invigorate the youth to take that mantle, get them
The youth
motivated,
is really where we need to focus. Our men are,
especially in
I worry
Canada.
for our young men.
Yeah.
Our
Well,
young men have
that's what
kind
this
of,
incel evangelism is, that Pierre Poilievre, Donald Trump, and the rest of these far right sycophants are really catering to, like, and that there's this fear of inadequacy. There's this fear of being, like, not the main character or not the best at something, or somebody stealing something from you just because they got a little bit ahead. Like they're buying into that, and now all of a sudden these people who felt sorry for themselves and were crying themselves to sleep at night are now like some kind of revolutionary guard for the conservatives, and they're all just little scared incels.
yeah. Yeah, you kind of said it.
How can you trust the U.S. when you've got the head of the military going in a signal chat and talking about what they're doing and what they're planning? But that's
That's
not
right.
giving away secrets, right? That's just talking to your buddy, like,
They
you
see
know,
themselves as victims. And
And
Smarcy, you're right
Putin
exactly.
on the
just
head, man.
happened to be in the room. Putin just happened to be in the room. All of those people just happened to be on Pilot at
It's a
that
dog
time,
whistle.
and
That's
Putin
it. Yeah.
happened to be in the room. This was a very well planned and well organized event.
And they
Yeah,
knew
it was a
exactly
dog
what they were
whistle for
doing.
sure.
100%.
We're getting ready for this, guys. Like, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
Oops, it was a mistake. Nobody
Watch
believes
us.
it.
Yeah, there was no accidents. There's no
It,
mistakes.
I don't think so
there's
either.
when it came to that, it's not an accident. It was planned, strategically planned. They knew that they were going to be there. They knew that what they were talking about was unsecure or an insecure network. They knew that people could infiltrate it. They wanted to do what they did, and they got caught with their hand in the cookie jar. And now they're backtracking, like, "Oh no, it wasn't me. I didn't have my hand in the cookie jar. Not me. Who?" Me? It's like the cookie jar song. They're blaming everybody else but themselves.
Right? 100%. And this is a long game. I mean, really, I think honestly, Trump's job is to break the United States and hopefully Canada. I mean, it was like 2 days after Trump
Oh, yeah.
was in, and Putin said, "You have a job to do, and you need to keep your promises.
I didn't
Get to
hear
work."
that, but all I
Oh
know is
yeah,
the stock market crashed so intensively that people were buying up everything, scooping up all of these. I bet you that wealth transfer was bigger than COVID.
oh yeah, probably. And he's just going to keep doing it over and over again
It
until
is
there's
about
nothing.
money. It's also
It's
about
that
resources.
conversation. Remember a couple of years ago, we heard it a lot. You're going to live with nothing and you're going to be happy for it.
I
Right?
love
And it's
that, man.
ringing in my mind now
I love
Oh,
every
owning nothing though.
day.
absolutely.
Like, like I like owning the clothes on my back, but like there's
Hmm.
also and the property I live on, and a few other things. Like there's a few things, but I could live without owning a car. I don't mind leasing, I don't own it. Okay, I have the option to buy. I don't mind not owning like a giant sound system. Instead, I'll have a small one, like, or whatever. I don't know, like streaming services and I don't know, buses and stuff like that, like education. Everything, is kind of hand in hand. And when you don't own anything, it kind of, everybody just kind of has access to it. And that's
Well,
the big problem.
and see what I see happy is a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's unaffordable to live in Canada. We can't do this." But yet they're going about and buying $40,000 brand new cars and stereo systems and jacked up trucks and buying all these things, and oh, gas is unaffordable. If you lived within your means, you would survive. You wouldn't have to do have to complain about
But
gas
I mean,
prices or food
life
prices.
isn't about living within your means. Life is about enjoying the things around you. But in my opinion, like it's about making the world around you a little bit better, but like also absorbing things and enjoying it, and like getting out, seeing things, experiencing things, and like living beyond your comfort zone. Going into different communities and being a part of those communities for short, long, or long terms. And then moving on. Like I believe in all that. I believe in being semi-nomadic and really experiencing things like by the seat of your pants, and I would never take that away from anybody else, even if it wasn't the most efficient way of living, right?
Hmm.
Like that's their choice, that's their life, but like
Sometimes
don't
I like to
don't
think
steal
it's.
somebody else's sunshine.
Sometimes
Right.
I like to think about it as what do you want to be remembered for?
Hmm.
Sometimes I like
Hello,
to think,
Burmer. Welcome.
Thanks, dear. That red
Can
hat,
you pronounce your name for me so I say it right, please?
it's Bremner.
Bremner, thank you. Do you like my red hat, Bremner?
Yeah, I did. Well, when I first saw it, I thought it was MAGA. I was like, oh, I'll sit and listen for 10 minutes.
I'm a little into gaslighting people for sure tonight.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Oh, thanks, dear. Yeah.
What's your rough age and your
I'm 62.
political persuasion, sir?
Yeah, I'm 62. I live in Alberta. I think I've always kind of been in the center. Actually, like voted, conservative quite a few times, and then they turned into the fascists, so I don't vote for them anymore. Right? Like
I get you.
yeah, I voted for Joe Clark. I remember voting for Joe Clark. I didn't vote for Mulroney, and I didn't vote for Harper. And I liked Justin a lot more than I liked his dad. But
all of us, to
yeah,
be honest.
yeah. But now I'm pretty like the intolerant left now. I've grown into a man who has no tolerance for racism or homophobia or transphobia or any of the stuff that's sorry, I shouldn't have said that on your live.
No, that's fine.
This stuff that's going on in Alberta, it's all about these guys appealing to that sort of collective pain body of people who believe themselves to be victims of the system, right? That the system does everything for everybody else but us. But by and large, white men in this country are the privileged people. They're the ones who are all driving around in like $120,000 vehicles and living in, $750,000 houses. But they
Right.
see themselves that they have to give to others. And it's just an innate sort of selfish me stuff. That's how I view politics.
Do you know, will you be entertaining strategic voting in this next election?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I live in Sherwood Park, and
Ah,
I'd like to vote Liberal, but and I don't mind voting for the NDP. But the NDP candidate here was a lot stronger in the last election than the Liberal candidate. So I'll have to kind of watch how they're doing, right? If the Liberal is polling ahead of the NDP, then I'll vote for them. Yeah. Anybody but that little weasel that stands up there and
Oh, really?
tells incredible lies and spews out garbage, because anyone can go and Google, right, his voting record. Just go and look it up,
yeah.
the things that he voted for and how many times he voted for those things, right?
Right.
He's voted lots and lots of times to take women's rights away from women in this country,
Yep.
because he's backed by Christian nationalists. That's his base, right? And that's why they're so far right now.
Yeah,
And
and he's
not,
got that whole failed DJ, that's
Yeah.
pushing the whole.
I'm sorry, but I do not want a failed DJ or a fucking angry paperboy running my goddamn country.
Why
Yeah,
not,
like
Smarsh?
that's for sure. I can't imagine why anyone can't look at that man, even if you're not liberal, right? He has a degree from Harvard, and then he's got a master's degree from Oxford in economics. And so we're heading into probably one of the most difficult times for this country since the Second World War. And I trust the economics major guy 1,000 times more than I trust the paper boy who took 11 years to get a degree from a fucking community college.
That's a golf
Right.
clap. Thank you very much.
I gotta commend you on that one as well.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm talking to the you're all liberals, so or any
No,
Well, no,
I'm
you
a
no,
swing
no,
voter.
yeah, are you?
no.
Yeah, I'm a swing
I'm not
voter.
a liberal, nor a conservative, nor a Democrat, nor a Republican. I am an
Yeah, I
Liberal
mean,
for
independent,
sure.
and I will stay an independent.
like
And
if it were the
strategic
other
voting
way
is what I
around.
have
Perspective
to
this
do.
way.
Okay, we need to stop Smarshy speaking on top of each other.
Sorry.
That's okay. No, it's just hard for us all to understand. So I think Happy said he was a liberal. Smarshy, what are you?
I'm an independent. I vote.
Thank you. No, you can
I'm
continue.
I'm the intolerant liberal.
Yeah, I love that. And Zen, do you want to share?
I'm liberal.
I'm a swing voter. I honestly feel like that requires me, it puts a big onus on me to stay involved in voting very carefully and following all the parties and what's happening within Canada. I used to entertain conservatives, but I've more swung into that realm of ABC.
I actually had a conversation.
Sorry, go ahead, Zen.
No, I'm done.
Oh, sorry, it was Marsh.
It was Marsh, yeah.
I had a conversation with my uncle the other day, and apparently the reason he votes conservative all the time is because he can't get behind the Liberal Party. Because in 1982, apparently it was Pierre Elliott Trudeau, who was the reason his and my mom's cousin were unalived on a oil tanker boat. And I'm like, that's not a good reason to not look outside your box. And I respect your vote. I respect that you vote for the conservatives, but as your niece, I can't respect you. Never said that to him, but I wanted to. I just, it was hard because he was, I know it's Sasquatch, it's so illogical, but it's just the way he is. He's a 60-some-year-old white man who has no idea what he's voting against and thinks that it's all honky dory to vote for conservative.
Right.
Yeah, there are lots of people who sort of vote for some personal reason, real or unreal. There's people who still vote conservative because Pierre Elliott Trudeau gave them the finger, you know. And there was someone in the comments about the oil and Ralph Klein. I mean, Alberta doesn't own I think it's like 89% of the oil, right? It's all been sold. Like we live
That's
under this
Canadian
fallacy in
oil.
this province that
That's Canadian oil or native oil.
it is. I agree with you, sir. I absolutely agree with you. And finally, the Indigenous are starting to get their share in like Cold Lake and places like Meg Energy up in Fort McMurray, and they should be, right? It should be Canada's oil, and it never was. Alberta is always like, it's our oil. It's
No,
our
they
oil.
should nationalize it, bro. Like completely nationalize it. Just start buying up the oil, kicking people out, nationalize the whole thing.
I wish all minerals and everything was nationalized, right?
We need a national energy program. As
We
soon
need a
as you
national
see
agriculture.
nationally energy program, all the conservatives melt away and fall apart into a crying mess of tears.
We
But
need
you know
to
what?
That's
be
what we need to do.
a
Well, I
national
think
base level of quality of life support. So like no matter what, you'll never experience life below this metric, and that should be measured against what it takes to lead and live a meaningful life.
I think Carney's a realist, eh? He's come out and said, like, we need to build pipelines. We need a port in the north, in the Hudson Bay. We need to build a pipeline out east. We need to stop depending on the Americans to be able to get our resources from one side of our country to the other, And
Yep.
we have to sell the oil to them. They turn around and sell it back to Quebec.
Can I say something to the person in the comments about the Native Trust?
Go ahead.
You talk about the Native Trust has always received royalty on resources, but the government of Canada always seems to find a way to take that money, from their sticky little hands and take out of the cookie jar yet again. Because the surplus checks that we get in Canada, like CERB, are money that comes from First Nations Trust Fund. And the reason why the First Nations weren't being made to pay it back is because it was their money. And the government of Canada has been ordered by the Supreme Court of Canada to pay it back, but they ain't got enough money, and if they do pay it back, it bankrupt Canada. So thank you for telling me you're ignorant without telling me you're ignorant.
And also learn what the Native Trust is before you start spewing about it.
But how's that working out so far?
Getting to know and learn about our country, not very good, sir.
No, it's not working out at all because there's a breach of trust.
This is one of my biggest things right now is that, and this is basically due to my own family, but I see so many people that do not want to educate themselves on politics. They just go with what their neighbor said or what Joe down the street said, or, and trying to tell them how to learn, because their first instinct is to go to Google, read the first thing they see, and okay, that's what I'm going to believe. This is what I'm having a problem with. How do I say you need to educate yourself properly?
I think when we start talking to people about educating, even though I agree with your statement, I think that that's implicitly telling somebody, or what somebody is going to translate into that is, are you calling me stupid? And as soon as you get into that place of, are you calling me dumb? Are you calling me stupid? Are you calling me uneducated? People stop listening. The amygdala starts to shake. They get emotional.
Right.
And that conversation is over. They're not hearing any of the information you're giving. I have a friend that leans very much that way. And recently, what I've been trying to do is find things to enjoy about them that are not politics.
Right.
And when we go on walks, one thing when we were having our discussion that we could kind of come together on that we were talking about that day was fear. So we talked about fear and what that looked like for our children during this political time. You know what I mean? And just touch base on this and what that means for both of our kids during that moment. And I think we really have to kind of start working on ways to not offend each other, but bring each other back to the middle where we're both looking at each other in the eyes. Because she came to work the next time and she was like, where's Mrs. Radical? I need to talk to Mrs. Radical. And I looked at her and I said, don't talk to me. You're not talking to me about politics. Go away. You don't like what I have to say. And she goes, no, actually, I really like what you have to say because at least you know and you're not rude to me.
Right.
So she can walk away and kind of play with my ideas and maybe what she's hearing from the far right. And if she only takes 10% in of what I said that day, maybe it's only 10%. Next week, it might not resonate at all, but maybe a little will the week after. But I keep reminding her that my skin bleeds like yours. We are the same. We are neighbors. We are friends. We work together. Like we all have the same hearts and minds here.
Agreed. I agree that I just, when you get somebody who's so far right, they won't listen to anything. It doesn't matter. You could tell them, look, he's up there spewing that he's gonna put everybody back to work and all the rest. But look at his voting record. He voted against labor every time. He voted against raising the minimum wage. He voted against unions. He voted against raising the money for seniors. He look at his voting record.
He wants.
They don't.
I mean, I knew him in Calgary back in the day, right? Like we all knew him back in Calgary. He went to Crescent Heights School. I mean, I feel like this is Revenge of the Nerds or something like that.
Well, he was
He voted against $10 a day daycare.
Yeah.
He was Harper's shining star, right? He was, he groomed him to be this, but but he's like a robot when he stands up there. He has no charisma, and he has like he's so. I don't believe a word comes out of his mouth because this
You know,
looks like he's so he's so
He, wa-
scripted, eh?
you know
he
one
wants to be the big dog, but he
this
doesn't know
is
how to be a big dog.
one
He
That
just
was
looks
puppet.
awkward.
Yeah.
one
He's a
big
big anything. He's a big nothing.
No,
yeah
he's told
one
what to read and what to say.
mhm.
He-
One
Well, he
big point
works
of
with
contention.
Dr. Evil. Sorry.
One big glaring hypocrisy that you can point out when people bring up Pierre Poilievre's name and his squeaky clean record. You can say that this man has amassed almost $15 million in real estate while being an MP. Not only that, but a self-proclaimed housing minister. So how does a housing minister accumulate wealth in the same industry that he is supervising?
Oh,
I
it's
love that.
it's okay when
Smart.
he does it, but it isn't okay when somebody else does it.
Well, it's even
Right,
like the
Nancy.
housing
They are.
policy. The housing policy they're coming out with now, right? The no GST for first home buyers is what Carney's basically put out, and they say,
His
well,
radical.
he's copied PPs. But if you look at the progressive, or they're not progressive conservatives, I don't know what they
Tories.
are.
The Tories.
Yeah, the UPC almost.
No, they're definitely not the UCP. They're definitely the Tories.
Yes, Miss
But their
Radical. You
policy
asked me
is
something.
basically for everybody, right? Which means corporations, right? So corporations can build 50 houses and pay no GST on it. Like it doesn't take you an incredible
That's
amount of intelligence.
definitely not
Just
what the conservative
Can we
outline
just
is.
hold for a second? I'm just going to get Smarshy. She just has a quick question, and then we'll go back to both of you. Yes, Smarsh?
Oh, no, I didn't have a question at all. I must have been pushing buttons when I was putting my phone on the table.
Oh, you're
There was
pushing
no.
buttons?
Yeah, I must have hit a couple buttons or something because I don't think I asked if I could ask a question.
Okay, stop. Don't push buttons. Bremner, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm not trying
Cole,
to.
no,
go
well, I
ahead.
was just pointing out the difference in the two policies, right?
hmm
They're exactly
No,
the same.
Cole, you got to let him finish speaking. So we're not going to interrupt here, okay? You're more than welcome to have your fair share and respond back to him, but we're not going to interrupt each other.
They're not exactly the same. Carney is pushing for GST relief for first-time home buyers, which means one house. So if you want to dispute that, Cole, like we can look it up. I don't have a problem.
Yeah, I yield to Cole. Let Cole go.
So,
Cole?
like, the only difference is that there. Well, I guess there's two main differences. Is one, Carney's is only first-time home buyers, and then Pierre's is up to 1.3 million. But otherwise, they're about the same.
I always need help when
Say
I'm
that
buying a
again.
$1.3 million house.
Well, but look at the prices in Toronto, though.
Of Toronto. Yeah, but you're not trying to encourage people to move to Toronto, because fuck
Yeah.
Toronto.
Can I say something to Cole about the housing that he was talking about, the
Oh, I thought you were
GST?
Sure.
pushing buttons.
Happy.
Happy? Stop. The thing is though, the housing market that you're talking about with the first time buyer, the way Pierre's going to do it is that it has a suite for people to rent. That's another thing you're not catching on. You're not listening to the whole message. He wants to have it so that there are places that people can buy up and have a suite where they can rent so they can make money off the first time buyers. That's what they want to do.
And that's
I
similar
looked
to
it up.
the misrepresentation of his housing plan too, which is a build first, apply for funding after plan. So like the industry that's already screwed is going to need to beg for money after they put up all of their money. And like we know how long it takes to get money from the government versus, them getting money from you when you owe to them. But like, that the thing, that seems a little bit asinine to me. You should be funding like
Okay.
developments and like stuff like that.
Let's hear back from Cole.
So, like, the reason that they don't just want it to be first-time home buyers is because some people start off with a starter house or a town or like a duplex or something, and then they want to move into a detached, and then they wouldn't qualify for that because they're not a first-time home buyer, even though they're just simply trying to upgrade so they can accommodate their family, like if they have kids, for example.
I think like necessarily in a crisis situation, we should be looking towards that kind of that kind of a situation exclusively. I think like, you know, when we hyper focus and we're vigilant in the people that need it, and then we can branch out to the people who are thinking about upgrading from already safe and secure situations. So at that point, we would start to explore other grants and stuff like that. In my opinion, I don't disagree that it seems, you know, short-sighted, but
Yeah, so I think it's a bit more multifaceted than just first-time home buyers, but I think that I don't know why we would be against removing the GST from that, because at the end of the day, if they're able to cut that, and they've already said that they're not going to cut dental or Medicare, that means that we're pretty much in a position where they're outlining a better platform at the moment.
you think that we'll be able to engineer you know, this tax reform and maintain certain social programs that are dependent on tax revenue, and as well, how do you reconcile that with the fact that Pierre Poilievre said that he's going to end government handouts and stop certain social programs and funding them?
I would say that increased productivity will account for that, so more tax revenue from more money flowing through the economy. Pierre is the only one who said he's going to get rid of the carbon cap, which will allow them to open more steamers in Alberta, which will let them get more oil out of the ground to fill these new pipelines, right?
I'd like Bremner to have a chance to chime in after you, Happy. He's just
Sure.
asked. Thanks.
Just on your last point, it turns out, and you know, I'm not a scientist, so I mean, if you want my citations, I can give them to you. But it turns out that global climate change and weather inconsistencies and weather events have contributed more to the devastation of agriculture crops, and have cost us more money at the grocery store than any tax that we've engineered so far. And the problem would only be exacerbated by your methodology, by allowing the people who are guilty of perpetrating the most egregious violations and the most impactful violations against Canada to expand further with taxpayer dollars.
Bremner?
There, no. Can you hear me now?
We gotcha.
You muted me, dear.
I kind of do that to
I'm
everybody.
a,
Once we've got 6 people in, if we're not muted, we jump on each other without thinking about it. It's just a
I,
mind thing. Nobody
I
means to.
understand it. It's just, anyway, so to one more thing about the housing. What happens when we give it to everyone? Okay, the people that build houses adjust the house to make that money for themselves, right? You don't get a drop in the price of housing. What you do is you get the money ends up going to someone else.
No,
So
it's not entirely true. So like when you subscribe to funding from government to subsidize your building projects, you're adherent to the regulations and the protocols that they put forward when you applied for that money. So that means committing 10 to 15% of your housing projects or your housing construction to affordable housing. That's not the same thing as just, you know, funneling money into profits. When you're acting as an individual business and you're building stuff, you can use certain things to make
did I
it
finish?
be more expensive. But yeah, you know,
Happy's bad for that. We forgive him, but sometimes he does that. It's his amazing brain. Go ahead, Brenner.
One of the things is it's GST. You're not applying for it. You're just not going to pay it, right? When you buy a house now, you buy a house and there's GST on it. So you go in, you put your money down, and the GST gets paid on the house from your mortgage, right? It's just basically you won't pay tax on that, whatever you build, a $500,000 house, there's no tax paid on your mortgage then. You don't have to add it on. I've bought several houses.
Capitalist network works is that they will just incorporate that fee into the base price. So instead of it being an $800,000 house, it's going to be an 850. Oh my God, it's fucking snowing.
Yeah, that was my point, is that if we give it to everyone, okay, everyone, the people who build the houses, the corporations that build the houses will build that price right into the house, right? They'll raise the price from 500,000 to $525,000.
Yeah, then the regulation, that's when regulatory boards are supposed to have the authority to intervene. So the way that the tax
So we're going to
credit
depend on
works
the
is that-
bureaucrats.
No, the way the tax credit works, when a tax credit is given, everybody pays the tax and then you're given back the credit. Usually, in this case, it might be different. You might be excused from paying the GST completely, but in order to make sure that you're not going to get trickle down impact, usually everybody gets paid and then you apply for your rebates from the government. I really want to hear from Cole.
I think that was, I didn't quite hear that, but I think that was my invitation. So I'd just like to respond to your thing about the climate change aspect. Like, I acknowledge that oil sands is like getting the oil out of the oil sands is probably like the third worst thing for the environment in the world, probably only behind burning coal for power and then fracking. It's about where it falls. But at this point, we're kind of in a crisis at the moment, I would say, arguably. And in a crisis, we need as much money as possible. So we account for, at the moment, 1.7% of global emissions. We can do our part, but we're not really, going to make a difference if China continues to burn coal for power.
So what's your concern, Cole? Are you concerned that if the Liberals get in, they're going to put those carbon taxes on the corporations?
No. My concern is that Stephen Guilbeault said that the Liberals under Carney wouldn't lift the carbon cap. And the carbon cap is pretty much what caps companies from developing more wells in the oil sands and pulling more oil out. That's what I'm concerned about, not the carbon tax.
Okay,
I
so
think we should be pulling out the oil. That doesn't help anybody's quality of life. That just really puts the focus and the dependency on fossil fuels and doesn't expand our innovation sector. It doesn't expand our transition into green energy or being at the forefront of that industry and being able to sell that technology, build schools, have people come here, develop that technology, and then expand on it. So instead of being a global leader, we're going to be a sheep. We're going to be sitting there following antiquated ideologies because we want to run it into the ground and we're scared. We should be nationalizing an agriculture sector. We should be nationalizing resources, and we should be moving towards, the betterment of humanity and human life based around the quality of life metrics and not finances and how much money we can save.
Okay, I'd like to hear from Brendan, or you cut him off. Go ahead.
Well, I think when I listen to Carney talk about building pipelines, there's no purpose in building pipelines if we're not going to have more oil. And I think, Happy, that we can accomplish both. Please don't do that. I really believe in the idea that if Canadians work together, we all understand that the environment is, I believe in global warming. I've lived it. I'm 62. I know how cold it was when I was a kid. I know how much snow there was. When I lived in Manitoba, there was snow 10 feet deep. And so we all understand that, but we can't just say, okay, no more oil, because our whole world is dependent on that.
Saying no more oil. Please don't misunderstand me as saying, I'm not saying no more oil. I'm not even saying don't drill more and not expanding oil. I'm saying diversify.
And I agree with you. And I think we can do it if we work together.
Diversifying also includes getting the taxation from those industries and not subsidizing them. Record-breaking profit, generating industry with taxpayer dollars seems like a crime to me. They should be self-serving, and they should be able to clean up their own mess. I don't want to subsidize that. I want that money to go to hospitals, education, and developing new cities, building new cities, expanding Canada. Those kinds of things are metrics of quality of life. Oil is not a metric of quality of life.
And
She wants.
I agree with everything you said. Honestly, I do. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the Alberta government the last 50 years have been nothing but a bunch of criminals.
You're not wrong. Smarshy wants to join the conversation.
Thank you. I actually did put my hand in the comments
I saw.
again.
Thank you. I
Um,
appreciate that.
no problem. So Cole, off of oil and gas, do you realize how much damage Pierre is going to do to public programs, social programs, schooling, infrastructure, like all of that? Do you realize what damage his party is willing to do to make a bigger buck for oil and gas? I mean, it kind of goes into it, but I'm trying to get you to understand from my point of view as a mom and as someone who has nieces and nephews that are still in school. Do you realize that they want to put religious crap in our schools, and we're not supposed to have religious because we have the freedom from religion. Like, I just want to understand where you're coming from on this one, if you don't mind.
Yeah, 100%. So like I get the definition, like I get the line between what's a provincial jurisdiction and what's a federal jurisdiction. And when it comes to like what the Tories have said they will do, they
Hmm.
said they won't be cutting any of the benefit, like the things that the Liberals brought in, like the Dentacare and stuff, and then the cheaper drug prices. They're not going to get rid of that. He came out and said that. So, and they own, like, the
They're
feds in terms of healthcare only cover the transfer payments. So that's more a
right.
provincial issue.
Yeah, and it's really funny that you say that they're not cutting it because Danielle or Marlena Smith, sorry, doesn't want the dental care program in Alberta. Doesn't want to have wants to have privatized healthcare. So tell me again how that's not provincial cutting any program. Oh wait,
Are you referring to like the UCP and stuff and Danielle Smith cutting in
yeah,
Alberta?
yeah,
Yeah, I'm from Alberta. I'm from Alberta. So yeah, 100%. But
yeah.
the Tories aren't in any way connected to the UCP.
That's
Oh,
not
come
true.
on, please,
They are.
please.
Stop.
Like,
That's not okay to say.
But
We
they're
got to
not
have an
legally
element.
binding
No,
for
no,
them.
no, no, no.
Has
We have
voice
to have
voters.
an element of fact here.
No,
And
no,
I
you can't
don't
have
want
his
to jump
voice.
on ops or anything like that, but we have to,
You
when
can.
Danielle Smith is going to the Trump and saying, please pause the tariffs so we can get PP elected, don't tell me they're different. They are exactly the same.
They they
well,
are they are the same. Like
They
she has
are
done
one of the same.
more damage to the Alberta healthcare system than I've seen anybody do. Like even I was in Saskatchewan. Mo's crappy, and she doesn't. Uh,
She,
she just wants to privatize everything. They want to be more like the USA. Well, you're not going to be like the more USA because we're Canadian. And her going down there and saying all this and just even I don't know the crap that she's been pulling. Like
right,
it's just criminal. And
right.
how do we stop her from doing that? I don't know.
Miss Radical, remember when you said that you had contacted people and when you were speaking to conservatives and you were speaking to and listening to them, and the one commonality was when they felt cut off and they felt diminished and not respected for their intellect or whatever. I can't remember
Yeah.
exactly what you're
Yeah.
saying. But if we can't, if you can't take a punch, then you shouldn't be throwing them. And I think you had a good opportunity to dismantle his argument. You cut him off. You could have crushed him and break him.
how old are you, Cole?
I'm 18.
You're
Oh
18.
God.
I'm 62. I lived through Mulroney, Clark, Harper.
Yeah, I'm in my first year of poli science.
Oh, that's awesome, dude. I remember parts of being 18.
Well, one of the
So
things
do I remember parts of it. Not all of it, though.
Do I
I
get to
did
respond? Do I
remember
get
a
to
lot of it
respond
when
to
I
that
was
though,
18.
or no?
can
I think you should, but we're all talking on top of each other, so can we mute our microphones, please, and allow Cole to respond?
So
Go ahead,
my
Cole.
argument stems from the UCP and the Tories have no legally binding status together. You see Danielle Smith doing diversion tactics, which as an Albertan who votes for the NDP in Alberta, I would honestly think that Danielle Smith is trying to sabotage Pierre with reverse psychology because she has nothing else to run for if the Conservatives win. She's simply not fit to do anything if there's no Liberal government to protest. So I think she actually wants the Liberals to win. That's coming from somebody who votes for the NDP.
I used to hear, I know there's this kids or some song and it's like, I see you, you see me. And like, really, they're just the same. Like, I know that there's a sale to sell her or to sell them as liberals, but I feel like it's the old bait and switch, like
I agree.
the WWE stench reeks off of it.
It's almost like Ruby Dahlia.
I,
She was running as a liberal, and she's conservative as fucking all conservative can be. So I
definitely
really wish people
represent.
would take a look. And someone telling me that, oh, Danielle did not say that she wanted to pause the tariffs. It's been on the news. It's been on the internet. It's been on so many places that you can just look it up and, go ahead,
I
Okay,
wouldn't.
I'd
click a
like
button.
Cole to respond again or Happy, one of the two.
I wouldn't mind. Like, I'll let Cole go, and I'm just gonna be 2 seconds here. But like, she just sparked the thing. Imagine Pierre quit politics because he is so unpopular. They kept losing ground, and Danielle Smith went federal, and they just like treated her and like, oh fuck this, I'm out.
Same though, remember?
Go ahead, Cole.
Yeah, so like to be honest, like the UCP is the Wild Rose and the PC merging together, and then like the Tories are the Reform Party and the PC merging together. These are not like that's my whole argument is that these are not there's no legally binding between these things being the same. Like the provincial NDP and the federal NDP are very, very closely intertwined and are part of the same umbrella.
True.
But in this case, they're not. That's my whole argument. You can allude to the fact that you can have your personal opinion that they may have similar politics and style and be the same, but my opinion is that they're very, very different. But that's of course just my opinion.
I have a tendency to agree with what Cole was saying. Almost all of it, but I think
Okay,
that
I'd like everybody to mute their mics, and I'm just going to take a moment to allow Happy to finish speaking because we're speaking over him, and then we're going to welcome Democratic Beast quickly because I want this to be kind of an even panel if it's possible.
and I love it because like Cole's got a nice analytical, a critical analysis of the
He does.
spectrum,
Totally.
and regardless of who he votes for, like just based on how he's speaking and articulating, we can accept that he's put thought into it, and that's as much as we need to ask of someone when they aren't voting. And I also want to point out that he also recognized the mergers of these parties. They are an alliance, they are a coalition, and they are same but different levels, same goals. And I think, to reiterate what I said earlier, the left needs to come to a pre-election agreement on at least a base level platform of principles and kind of organize themselves as a coalition, or we risk like tumbling again.
True. And in that moment, I'm just going to take a moment to let everybody know you are with Happy and Miss Radical at Beaver Politics. And we're here to have a debate night or an opportunity debate. This isn't a jump on show. We have to be respectful. There's no interrupting, there's no name calling, and there's no threats. I'd like to welcome Democratic Beast to the show. What are your thoughts?
I don't have any extensive thoughts. I was just going to say that I think when you're looking at party affiliation, You got to look, or at least in my opinion, you got to look more at policy as opposed to legal bindings and informations and stuff like that. Like, you could say that the Liberal Party, the federal Liberal Party, is actually much more aligned with the BC NDP party than the BC Liberals. And that would just be self-evident by the way that they work hand in hand with each other. David Eby and Trudeau had a lot of photo ops together when he became premier of BC. Sorry. In the same way, Stephen Harper, back in the 2000s, was very pro oil fields and basically built his campaign and his platform around exploiting the oil sands and making that the driver of Canada's economic future. So I think not only is the federal Conservatives really tied up with any Conservative party in Alberta, but just with Alberta as a whole, to be honest.
Thanks for sharing.
You saw me with the glass. I'm sorry. I hope it doesn't trigger everyone. It's Schweppes ginger ale. Please
It's
don't
okay, Happy.
judge me.
Sure,
Okay.
buddy.
You're allowed to drink whatever you want to drink.
Apparently not.
Apparently, it doesn't matter what anyone says, Happy.
It's okay. You got it all under control. We trust you.
We trust
I'm
your
glad your
judgment.
kid's home with you tonight.
It's Friday. Live a
Brenner,
little,
He's always with me at night. I don't
do you
know.
want to chime in here?
Sure, yeah. I was patiently waiting my turn. I don't
I
mic my
saw
like.
that.
I don't mute. I just shut up, right?
I
Like,
mute your mic.
if you tell me to shut up, I'll shut up.
I'll mute your mic.
Yeah.
Sorry. We
I
get
think-
hot. We get emotional.
I think when we talk about that, you have to look at ideologies, right? What's the ideology behind the party? Who funds them, right? Where does the money come for them to buy commercials, to have advertisements? And I think you have to look at history. And so Cole is a very intelligent young man, very impressive. And I'm sure that he will be able to look at the voting history of those two parties. And my concern now is that Polyev is coming out with all these things on day 7 or 8 because he's losing, right? He didn't say anything about I won't cut this or I won't cut that on day 1. And I don't trust them any farther than I could throw them because I lived through Harper when he promised us tax cuts and we'd have more money in our pockets. And then he brought in a 7% tax on everything we buy. And then he lowered it because he promised us it would only be 6 months before he would be able to take the tax away, but he couldn't. And nobody could. We still stuck with 5%. The other thing that Harper did, if you look it up, he sold a lot of really big corporations, a lot of Canadian corporations that belong to the Canadian people. And there's a big oil field up in northern Alberta, Nexen, that was sold to the Chinese. And there's a bunch of corporations, potash corporations and mining corporations that were sold to foreign entities to balance Harper's budget. So when we're looking at just what people say, I believe in the idea that the truth can be seen, right? And words are just that. They are words. And we all know that all parties do this, all of them. I'm not saying that the Liberals don't promise us things and then stick it to us, because they have. But right now, for me, I want the guy in charge who I believe is going to be strong and stand up for us and rebuild our country, because our relationship with the United States is never going to be the same. He's right about that. So, anyways, I wanted to say, very impressive young man, right? Listening to you. I thought you were 30. That's it. That's enough from me, Bremner. I'll shut up again.
Hey, Bremner, who were you saying was impressive?
Cole,
They're cool.
Good.
young
Thank
man
you.
who said he was 18. Yeah,
Okay,
impressive.
thank
Like the
you.
things I remember from 18, you know, I was basically red pilled at 18.
I had 2 jobs and I was
I had 2
almost
jobs
fired.
too. Yeah. I was working full time. Yeah.
Cole, would you like to speak?
You like to speak against the liberals? Or, oh, shit.
I don't have much to say to that besides I think I think all politicians have not always been all serving. I think that goes without saying that Stephen Harper did do some good things potentially selling Petro Canada was good, and the wheat board. Those were two that in
The
hindsight.
wheat board?
Canada,
The wheat board?
Yeah, the wheat board.
Canada Brian
I think the
Mulroney?
wheat board was a really good sell due to the fact that Canadian farmers don't get any money. American farmers all receive monetary subsidies. Our Canadian farmers are able to go without getting monetary value. They get benefits, but not any just straight cash.
Well, we subsidized our farmers lots of times, young man. I farmed for 20 years. So you'll have to reinvestigate that.
Yeah.
Well, on the surface, it could have appeared as something that might have some benefits, but we know the long-term impacts of selling, those kinds of things have been detrimental to Canada's economy.
So
I
yes
don't think
and
many
no.
farmers would agree with that statement.
About 30% were happy that the wheat board was dissolved right away. They were the
At
ones who were
that time,
producing
but they
food
didn't
first.
actually feel the long-term effects.
It's not just that; it's like a lot of agriculture sector people are abandoning their farms now because
Yeah.
of situations. I really think that through nationalization of certain segments of agriculture, or even all of it, like at least to provide a base level for society. I think that's probably the direction we should be going into, instead of more capitalist ventures and more like corporate welfare and handouts and stuff like that. And just instead of having that redirected into more expansive and growth-oriented projects.
I think Marshy would like to speak next.
I just want to have everyone keep in mind, yes, there was, I guess, a few things that Harvard did that was okay, but the one that really, really irks me is that nobody realizes that guess who was there when he was making that backdoor deal to China for 31 years. Yep, you got it. Pierre Polyev was there when it happened, and he knew all about it. And then the next day, oh, and the funny thing about that deal is we can't get out of it until we're done with it in 2031, I believe, or 2046. And if we want to get out of that deal, we have to give them a 15-year notice that we want out of that deal, and that is going to fuck our economy up if we do. So we're
It
screwed
was
either way.
it was detrimental to Canadians, that deal. What do you think, Cole?
Oh, yeah, I grew up on a farm too, just outside of Calgary. And I'm still here, but the thing is that the wheat board wasn't good because it was a quota. It's the same thing as why the dairy board isn't good. It gets crops that are produced destroyed, which is bad for the consumer. That's why our milk costs more than American milk, and our food used to be well, it's still quite expensive. But the thing is it drops prices for consumers. If they were to get rid of the milk board tomorrow, like they were to get rid of those quotas, then we would see more milk getting put in, and there would be
You'd
cheaper
see a
prices.
flooding of milk that doesn't meet appropriate standards, though, and you would see like a deterioration of the quality of the food products because of the injection of unregulated goods. I think I think that's exactly what it is with the
I don't
dairy
think you
board.
addressed Marshy's question, though, Cole.
That was more in response to Happy's earlier thing
Right.
No, I get that.
Do you have a response first, Marshy?
about Pierre being associated like a cabinet minister when Harper was making deals with China.
No, about Pierre being there making deals with China that worked against Canada in a very detrimental way.
He was a senior cabinet minister.
Yeah.
That's
He
probably the
claimed-
only deal he sealed.
I think it's just another government scandal. They happen to both parties.
Yeah, and he said he's not conservative. Please remember, he didn't necessarily say he supported Pierre at any point during this conversation. He was just pointing
No,
out.
she's asking him a question, Happy. She
Oh,
can, right?
Yeah, all I
That's
was asking
fair.
was, and it was more or less a statement for like not only just Cole, but for everybody thinking about voting for Carney or Pierre. Was just remember in the back of your mind when you're thinking of voting for Pierre Poilievre, remember he was there when Harper and whoever it was with from China sold the FIFA agreement, which means I can't remember. I can't remember the whole thing. I read it. It's escaping my brain when I need it the most to come through. But this is a deal that we're stuck in for 31 years. So it was in 2015 it was made. So that means 2046 is when we get out of the deal, when we're legally allowed to like walk away. But by 2046, will we really be here? I don't know. It's scary to think that we may not be here in the next 20 years or however long because of everything that's going on.
Okay,
The
let him
guy sold
answer.
us out.
Does he know what the deal was?
Yeah, it's a bilateral trade agreement that promotes foreign Chinese investment in Canada. That's what it is, and it
it also
protects it.
it protects
And
the
Canadians
investment
didn't get to
profit.
vote on it, or they don't know all the details of it,
That was
and
the
we're
big thing.
trapped into that.
Yeah, I don't mind
And we
deals
need
with
15
China.
years to get out of it
I
if
don't
we
mind
want to
deals with
leave that
China.
agreement.
Like
And I
to be,
think
Pardon?
to be fair, like I don't mind deals with China. I think like exploring free trade agreements and more open economies with the globe is important in defusing a lot of these volatile situations because we know that when we share certain things, we're less prone to invading or attacking each
I don't
other.
think that's what Smarshy's saying at all, though, right?
It was just to open up Cole's eyes because I mean, being 18 and everything, I don't know if he was aware of that. Being in political science, that's a good avenue for you to be in right now, especially. I'm just saying, if you think about voting for well, yeah, that's your choice. But just remember, he's done backdoor deals before. He may do it again without even thinking about doing it
Yeah, and he
again.
was
That's
there when they cut funding to veterans. He was there when they cut funding for defense. He was there when they cut funding for childcare. He was there and voted for all of those things. And that's why I don't trust the man. I don't care if he says he's going to not cut this, not cut that. He'll find something else to cut to stick it to us.
I think he will too. He will sell us down the road. I think diversity, what Carney's talking about, going like being diverse and not, we put our eggs into one basket, dealing with the US, all with the US. And I think the global trade, going to the Europe and talking to them about possibly getting their jets, doing our military spending and that. We become complacent ourselves. Like even a person will go to, one store because we like that store all the time, but we don't bother looking elsewhere, because there could be better deals elsewhere. I think Carney's got a he can see what a lot of people can't see. Like he can see that we need to expand our global market. Sorry.
Don't apologize. I was just waiting for you to get involved in the conversation. That's great. Thanks.
I'm not sleeping.
No, I didn't think you were. There's sometimes we all got a lot of big opinions, so it's hard to get a word in edgewise, right? And
Yeah.
some of our opinions are longer or snappier or whatever it is. So we always want to make sure that everybody gets a voice in this conversation.
I'm not sleeping either.
Yes, you are.
you're checking your
Yes,
eyelids
you
for holes.
are. I know Happy wants to say something.
Never. Not me.
Bremner wants to. Hey, Bremner. You're too slow, Happy.
No, well, there was somebody in the comments who brought up that they raised the retirement age from 65 to 67, right? And there's a video of him out there with this whole big long explanation that because we live longer now, right, we should be able to work longer now. And I don't know how old Happy is, but I'm 62, and I can tell you it's no goddamn fun getting out of bed anymore. I can't imagine having to be 67 and still having to work, right? I don't have to. I've saved a lot of money, right? But there are other people in this country besides me. That's the idea behind socialism, if you want to call it that, is that the whole group helps the individual. And like the ideology behind the Tories, if you want to call them that, is completely the opposite. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, right? Pay for your own health care. And the two ideologies, I don't believe for a minute, they're not connected to each other. Danielle Smith is down there trying to get him elected with a country that said they were going to annex us. And so I don't believe the ideologies are not connected. They are connected.
Not
Well,
to
I got
mention, they want to get rid of our CPP.
I'll take it off of the thing.
Hello, Mrs. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you? Great show tonight. I'm really enjoying the conversation, I must say. And I would come
Thank
up
you.
here. I really enjoy Cole's in particular. I'm also impressed with his ability to articulate, or your ability to articulate, Cole, and your exploration of through your poli-sci courses. I'm not sure where you go to school. One thing I would offer for thought is sometimes schools are funded to be right wing or left wing, and the information that you're going to be receiving could be slanted. So know this about, educational institutions. Your biggest power is knowing you are a consumer, right? You're a consumer of that information, and as when you understand that, you've got a little bit of power in that great big system, but just be aware of some of the slanting that you're going to be taking in your learning. For example, how well is the Simon Fraser Institute, the Fraser Institute as a research center? How well is that? How are your teachers saying that's the number one place to go to for research? When I was in my university degree in 2016, when Stephen Harper, so 2013 to 16, when Stephen Harper was in power, because of the restrictions put on research results, we were not allowed to quote the Canada Statistics Canada website without a secondary source, because it was no longer credible enough. And the Simon Fraser Institute, or I want to say Simon Fraser, but it's Fraser Institute, a very right-wing think tank that produces a lot of research that supports, say, oil and gas, or supports who's ever funding that research. So when you're reading the different research studies you'll be exposed to, really understand who the funders are in that research, to kind of give you an idea of their bias within that research. Anyway, I really just wanted to come up and give kudos to Cole, kudos to Bremner as well. Being a 61-year-old, I understand this, not wanting to get out of bed at 61 to go pull a full shift somewhere, and that the human body does over time, no longer have the ability to show up and perform for 12 hours a day. And in our socialist society, we should all be taking care of each other. When you're really strong, you do your part. And when you're not as strong, you partake. And that's a good system. Anyways, my belly is full. It's Friday night. We just finished watching this. We're watching this by casting the phone
Nice.
onto the big screen TV here. I got a big, like 65-inch TV, getting my husband very familiar with all the Beaver Politics shows. And we're watching you guys on the big screen. What a
Oh,
difference.
your poor husband.
He's loving it.
Misses.
He's loving it. He is. Anyway, I don't want to stay into the conversation because it's been a long day. I just wanted to come up and say kudos to a couple of your guests up here. Hi, Smarchy. Good to hear your voice and love your new background. Love the background.
Oh, I just thought it was cute because,
Yeah. No, your background's cute too. I meant Mrs. Radicals.
Oh,
I was like, okay.
I love this.
thank you.
There you go.
Um,
You
I
think?
appreciate that. I'd like to hear a little bit more from Cole. He's kind of taking a little bit of a beating tonight. Love to hear a little bit more from you because you are well spoken.
Yeah, I don't know if this has been a bit of time since it came up, but I definitely don't think the FIPA agreement was that bad. It did create a lot of jobs through Chinese investment. They built high rises in downtown areas, especially in Vancouver through FIPA.
Ottawa too.
Yeah, and it really wasn't that bad. You could definitely say the negotiation and the procurement of it was a little bit suspect for sure, how it was
And the length.
a little bit out of the public eye for sure. That's why it was a scandal, but I would argue the actual containments of it weren't really that bad in the deal because we did get a lot of Chinese
of the
investment coming in.
That would depend on the value of the resource. I think objectively every year it changes on how good it is or how bad it is for our economy. But I think like the FIPA arrangement also allowed for like I think Chinese police stations or whatever they were calling them to end up in Canada in the first place. And I think through those same trade channels they they also invited a couple of rogue scientists into Canadian research centers, right? Like, and that was discovered under Trudeau's administration. But I don't disagree that there could be some components of that trade agreement that resulted in net benefits, but I think that I think the way that it was done, the length and the term that it was done for, like if it was a 5, 7 year, 10-year thing, I don't think anybody would have batted an eyelash. It'd be over by now. But it was like a 40-year thing, without consultation. So
31.
I'd like to give Strong Woman a chance to and welcome her.
Oh, thank you. I didn't expect to be welcomed so quickly.
Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. I just joined in because I was stopping by. I usually stop by, and
Do you like my hat?
I do love your hat. Apparently, the Blue Jays don't like your hat.
Oh, boo.
They made. Did you hear that story? They made the guy
No.
leave. They made the guy leave. Who
Did
was
it
with-
say Canada is already great?
Or no,
You?
it was sorry. Canada is not for sale. Political.
And they made him leave? Oh,
Ontario. Yeah.
get out.
Yeah, they said they're not, they can't, they gave him a choice to wear it backwards or take it off. He didn't want to do either, so they made him leave the home opener.
Get out.
But the premier phoned him today.
find the team. They should find the league.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that they have owned up to that it was a mistake. But it's too late. I mean, it's the home opener. I mean, it wasn't a very good game, but no, I'm just, well, I am not a Pierre fan at all, mainly because there's contradiction. There's so much contradiction. That's what I can't take. And, what caught my eye as I came in when you're talking about moving that age to 67. So, he's always talking about how he's, going to save money or, tax cuts. Everything is tax cuts. But if I have to work till I'm 67, then I'm getting taxes. I'm still getting 2 years of employment taxed, right? So that's number one. Number two, you're talking about putting more money in Canadians' pockets, but the thing is, we'll just round it up low. It's $700 right now, OAS at age 65. It's over that, but we'll just say 700. So that's $8,400 a year. Not enough to live on by any means, but I'm just saying it's tax free, and you're always talking about saving us money, and we're getting taxed too much, and the liberals are going to tax us, but that's tax free money. You want me to keep working till I'm 67, and I could have been getting $16,800 in addition over 2 years till I'm 67. Like, some of the things, they just don't fiscally make sense. He throws out these things and they're just not really, they're just so contradictory. They're not thought out.
I agree. I always wonder too, because 1 minute it's till 67, and then he's going to throw out, we're getting rid of retirements and pensions. Everybody works till the end, you know. your corpse will be marching itself. And I struggle with him on that one.
Yeah, I made a post today and it actually is going very far, very fast, which was him at the podium with his, top up your TFSA. And I used some strong language in there, basically saying, why are you asking me, first of all, it's the TFSA is mainly, American companies that people invest in. It's Apple and Amazon and all those ones that people put their money in. So first of all, if you look into it, you have to put it into Canadian companies, which is not a bad thing. But who the heck right now is just having the average Canadian? We're talking about the people who want to maintain work, employers who want to keep their company. No one is sitting around thinking, I got an extra 5K. They want to hold on to their money right now to see what's happening, to see if I'm not going to be, what's going to happen. And he comes out and he's like, oh, I've got this great deal. Like, that's not what Canadians need to hear. Maybe Danielle Smith and Jordan Peterson and, the guy from Shark Tank, Kevin O'Leary, maybe they got 5K. Obviously they do sit around, but the average Canadian right now is circling their wagons. They're taking hold of, where are we living and how much money are we spending, and do we need to look at that, and how do I need to look at my car, and what do I need to look at for my groceries and buying money, and am I going to have employment, or is the industry I'm in going to be affected by tariffs, right? So the thing is I don't think people are like, oh my God, this is a great tax break at this time. The average Canadian, we're worried, right? And again, about all the things that he cuts. There's cuts to seniors with OAS. He doesn't want to support, dental. He didn't want to support that. He didn't even want to support, whether you agreed with it or not, the GST was a break. People get so attached to something like that, the GST break that we got at Christmas, that it's the be all end all. It was a break. It was just a break. Like Ross and Rachel and Friends. It was just a break.
Just a break. I love that.
I think
Like, it's not something to the hill you want to die on, right? Like, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. Like, okay, maybe, that money, that tax goes into the government. I understand. But they wanted to offer a break on toys, a break on eating out, a break. And that puts more money into the economy because people are more likely to go to McDonald's this one time because you don't want to pay tax, right? It's good you get a burger for $8.99 instead of $10.39 or whatever it is, So the thing is like, it's just, I feel like, I have all these ideas in my head. I feel like making a podium and then putting a sign and writing on it supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, because that's how I feel when he comes to the podium with the stupid effing signs. I'm sorry.
I love that. I'd love to hear, I think Brenner had a few things he wanted to share.
I get on a rampage, but
I love it.
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan.
I'll get everybody to mute their mics though, just because it creates a little bit of an echo when we don't. Brenner, do you have anything you want to chime in?
There, am I there now?
You're here.
It's the technology stuff, dear. When I grew up, the biggest piece of technology in my house was a toaster.
So you know what happens is when our mics all go on, it creates this weird echo on my mic and other people's mics.
Oh yeah, no, it's
If
okay.
we, yeah, I'm not trying to be a
Yeah.
meanie or anything.
We had a wood stove, eh? My mom baked bread on a
Love
wood
that.
stove. And oh my God, could my mother cook, eh? Right? And
Nice.
that's one of the wonderful things about growing up in this country. My father was an alcoholic. He left my mother. She had 5 children, right? And in those days, in the 60s and 70s, you didn't have to pay child support. And so my mom had 2 jobs, and then she sewed. When she would wake up, she would have a cup of coffee and a cigarette, and she would sit there and sew other people's clothes to make even more money to feed us. And there were people who brought, I think it was the government, would bring us like moose and elk and things like that so we could eat, right? That's how Canada works, and that's how it's always worked. And that's why I believe so much in the ideals that strong, is it stronger woman or strongy woman? I don't read too
Strong
much.
woman.
Yeah.
Strong woman.
The stuff that she was talking about, right? That we're here together and we're going to fight for each other. I mean, I wish we could vote in the NDP if I had my wish. That's who I'd vote in, right? Because all the stuff a lot of the stuff that we got now is because of them, right? We
Yeah.
got dental care, and we got pharmacare, and we got we got the leafy green. I love that, man. That like you should have seen the stuff we had to smoke when we were young. It came in a bread bag, and you had to roll about 40 of them. And now you can buy it on every corner, right? And it gets me through the day because the CBD oil gets my arthritis and my bursitis and all that other stuff that I have, takes all the pain away. And we live in a really great country, a good country, and people who you should be careful and look up what the IDU is. Harper runs it; he's the head of it, right? And my belief is it's a schmatzy organization about dominating the world. And Trump is a member, and Pierre Poilievre is a member, and the guy in Greece is a member. The dictator or whatever, is it Greece or I can't remember. Yugoslavia, one of those countries over there, he's a member, right? The guy running the Philippines, he's a member. Have a look at that stuff, right? These guys, they don't care about us, the people, right? They care about money. And if we all die, they've got a plan. If they destroy this planet, those guys have a plan. And we are destroying our planet.
Thanks for sharing. Oh, sorry, I cut you off.
I didn't mean to be so negative, right? But I have great faith in Cole's generation.
I appreciate you. I'm just going to share something happy, and it's yours, okay? We're heading into 8:34 here, Mountain Time, so we're ending things up. I'd like us to finish off with each of our own little thoughts about this evening. That'll give you kind of 3 to 4 minutes, maybe 5, to kind of sum it up if you want, and I'll start with Happy.
I think we
Got
were all
enough time?
together too nice, too kind to some people who didn't deserve it. I think you kept me muzzled.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I just wanted to lash out.
You want to lash out?
I think the conversation tonight was quite good. It was progressive. I think keeping it, out of the hands of some of these naysayers that we saw in the comment section really proved to be something beneficial to our community. And I think we can debate the ideas and stuff within our own left of center community, so long as we don't condition it with caveats and force people to acquiesce to our own belief system before we're even going to have a conversation with them about what they have a problem with or where they want the conversation to go. So, whatever, man. I think it was good.
Smarsh?
I was having a conversation in the thing and then I got distracted. What am I supposed to talk about?
We're ending things soon, so I thought maybe we give you an opportunity to kind of speak to the show tonight if there was anything you wanted to leave with or sum up?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I do agree with Bremner that we are ruining this earth, and we need to somehow reverse it so we can get it back to being a better Canada. We're not broken. The system's a little skewed, but we're not broken. We'll get over this. This is just a little hiccup in the road or a big hiccup, however you want to look at it. We'll get over the big hiccup, you know. And it's honestly, Carney's really the only choice we have for this. Again, I'm not going to vote NDP even though I want to, because it's not feasible. Strategic voting is the only vote we have at this point, and that's all I want to say.
Thanks, Marsh. Bremner?
I just give a couple of numbers that I looked up the other day. We are 22nd in the world in highest taxes. So there's 21 countries ahead of us that pay, like Japan, Sweden, the Ivory Coast, the Americans, right? So our taxes are not that high, and I don't mind paying a little extra tax to help out people, right? We are fourth in standard of living per GDP. And our debt ratio per GDP per person, right, is like 14%. The United States is 130 some percent. So we're not in that much trouble here. We're not broken, right? We just put our faith in the wrong thing for too long. And I think Carney has the right idea. We need to trade with the world, and I have faith in him. And I have to vote for the NDP because the Liberal candidate here won't get in. So we counteract each other there, Smashy. And that's it from me.
Carney on. Strong woman.
Oh my gosh, I'm sad I joined so late. Carney, yeah, like I made a comment today that every time he speaks at the podium, it's a master class in, the way he's talking, like, and he's so skilled. But, him against Pierre is basically Pierre's bringing a putty knife to a pew pew fight. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a battle of wits. Like, he's running circles around him. He doesn't have the idea. This guy can actually put numbers together and help us. I never thought we were broken. That is so apparent from all it took was Mike Myers to say elbows up, and everybody stood up and raised up. And so a land of broken people would have not done that. We would have still been lying down and poor us. You know who's broken? The United States is broken. And you can't sell me anything. I mean, you cannot sell me anything. The one thing I'd like to say, and this is a long discussion, but to the people, those people that in Canada who do say they want to join, wherever they live or whoever they support, my question is why? Because the thing is that Donald Trump doesn't give a crap about you. He wants our land, he wants our water, he wants our resources. And if he took us over, you're not going to have an opportunity to have a great job. You're not going to be cared about. You're going to be pushed down to being just forgotten. The jobs will go to Americans. They will take things over. I don't know why people think they don't have 230,000 people declared bankruptcy in the USA last year because of medical debt. 230,000 people from medical debt because they even have to look at their kids if they think they have strep throat and be like, can we fix this at home because we can't afford to go to the doctor. I'm not sure I would really people are always like, I'd like to have a really labored discussion and ask people who say they want to move to the States, why? What do you think you're going to get? The minimum wage is so low in Pennsylvania. It is $7.25, and it has been that low since 2011. $7.25. I don't care if your Doritos are only $1.99. I don't care. $7.25, you can't live off of that. A bag of Doritos might be $1 cheaper or whatever, or your jumbo bag of Lay's, but at the Walmart in the States, but it's not really, I don't know how, and they're just being suppressed down. And I don't know why any Canadian would even remotely want to be a part of that. And that we could go on and on. I'd also really like to debate. I can't figure out I'm just going to say this, but we won't talk about it. I can't figure out why Pierre, I don't want it to be a big topic, but I can't figure out why he won't get that security clearance. I can't figure it out. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because he can't, or he's just torturing people and he thinks it keeps his name in our lips. I mean, I don't really go around and talk about it, but
Let's message with each other. I have my own ideas, but we don't have enough time for this.
yeah, I know. So, but that is bugging me. Like, it's like I can't figure it out what it is. Like, I can't. Anyways, thank you for letting me join. And yeah, next time, Canada. And we are not broken, not even a bit. Not
Elbows up.
Elbows up all the way, all the way.
Thank you, strong woman. Nancy Jordan.
There, am I here?
You're here.
I'm here. I agree with strong woman. I really honestly don't know what it is. I am terrified for the people of the US. And I was terrified about our election, our coming election. But now Carney's in here, and I think that is like from hearing him, that I think is the way that we need to go as a country in order to grow and to create jobs. And currently, I've been living in a retired ambulance for 4 years because I couldn't afford to pay rent in Regina. Worked my butt off, and I just decided, I have to do something. And this is why I am. I'm happier now. But now that Carney's like, he has a plan, and I can understand where he's coming from. Like having to diversify all of our stuff. Like, we've been in a rut. We've been stuck here, not developing our country, which we should be doing. And I have kind of like a little hobby. Like, I like trolling the PP people. Whenever I see their videos, I'll always go in going, Carney for Prime Minister, but just to get a rise out of them. Or I'll say something and I get a lot of hate back, but it's fun. I'm 61
taught us
and
best.
Anyways, Cole, I hope you keep up with your education. Education is the key, and just read whatever you can, no matter where it is, whatever it is, and just constantly keep improving yourself. Keep an open mind. Not everything is all one way, but I wish you all the best, young men. Anyways, it's been fun. This is my first live I've ever done. Thank you very much.
We're privileged that you had your first live with Beaver Politics then. Have a good evening, Nancy.
You
Thanks for
too.
joining us.
Good night.
Cole, you get your say.
Yeah, make sure to watch the leaders debate, because this one's going to be a masterclass. Every single
I
debater
can't
that's
wait.
going to be there is going to be great. Like, I know what you guys are going to say about Pierre, but when he went to the UFC, he was in the debate club at the UFC. And if you guys watched the Tories debates for their leadership in 2022, they were all masterclasses. They were, I hate to say it, they were better than the Liberals. It was a real debate. So I'm really excited for this one, because I will admit Carney's a smart guy, so we're gonna see. This will be good. I do think Pierre has a good shot here, and yeah, just make sure that you fact check everything that they say this election cycle, of course, because like both parties in the tax cuts said 14% and 15% tax cuts, even though they were only a like marginal 2% tax cuts. So got to look into that. But yeah, thanks for hosting me, guys, even though my views are slightly different than yours. Very slightly.
You got a good head. I'd like you to come up and debate your ideals one night, and we can just go head to head in a proper etiquette, right? Like, I like that.
So you should add him as your friend and you guys can get together and organize that for Beaver Politics or for yourself. I'd love to see that. Tag me in it.
Thanks for having me, though, guys.
Thanks for coming, Cole. And my last say is we still have to keep having these conversations. I'm not comfortable with the numbers. I'm not sold that Carney's it right now. The Conservatives are still doing well. So we still need to pay attention. We still, anything can come at us at this point. So we need to pay attention. This election has barely begun. Barely begun. Anyone else?
I agree. My daughter is a sort of political student. She has her degree in human rights and conflict resolution in Ottawa, and she's in law school, and she hopes to work in the government in Ottawa. She also worked at the Superior Courts, the Ontario Court of Justice in Ottawa, and she worked on some trials that are quite interesting. But I just wanted to say, when she saw the post today of what Trump said, she took that as very positive. She said he just secured himself a majority government.
That's what my conservative friend said. The same thing.
Yes, the same thing. When he saw that, because he's taking control, it's showing Canada what he is going to do. I mean, he's pulling no punches. He's made a wall,
And I wouldn't be afraid
I'm
of him.
thrilled.
Yeah, I wouldn't be afraid of him cutting social programs either, considering his whole life has been about certain value set that included humanity, environment, and equality, right? So
Yeah.
I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful Karina Gould comes back.
Okay, Smarsh, quick, and then we're done.
Okay, so Strong Woman said, why would anyone want to live in the U.S. when they live in Canada? It's because they think that their freedoms are being taken away and they don't actually understand what freedom being taken away is. So that's why they think that they have no freedoms because of the convoy. That's a whole other story, but that's actually what it is as a whole. Right?
And with that, thank you for a wonderful evening at Beaver Politics.
Thank
It
you.
was a debate, not a debate, community panel. I appreciate you all for showing up.
And remember, it was just a break, like Ross and Rachel. That's all I got to remember. It's just a break.
Love it.
Have a good night, and thank you for letting me join. Take care now.
Take care. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.